That's going to be jam-packed this morning. And Cape Town, the M7, Jake Scoville Drive, already under queuing pressure coming out of Mitchell's Plain with queues up towards the R300 junction. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. It's soccer action with Rise and Shine taking down the Giants. That's Mamelodi Sundowns. And in Formula One, Carlos Sainz wins the Mexico City Grand Prix. All the details around 6:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Today is Monday, the 28th of October, 2024, and it's just gone 7 minutes after 6. Hey, good morning, South Africa. This is the Morning Brief on SAFM. It's all the local and international news, current affairs, insights, and opinions you need to lead the conversation today. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane, and I'm here to deliver your Morning Brief. What an epic weekend I had. I don't know how your weekend played out, but I had an epic one in that I spent much of the weekend at the Inclusive Dialogue Forum out in Drakensberg, hosted by the Kgalema Motlanthe Foundation. And the reason I say it was epic, you would think that I attended some concert or something big of entertainment type or something like that, or a big sporting event. But actually, I was excited because this was an intellectual festival, really. It was a showcasing of the ability of South Africans to gather in one room and just analyze and unpack and understand what our problems are and to work at getting at solutions. So it was multifaceted. Various sectors of society represented there, from civil society to business, academics, political leaders, government were also represented there. And I liked the fact that it wasn't really groupthink. The ideas were flying in from all sorts of directions, and there was a fair amount of contention. What I'm saying about this is that I was viewing it in light of the pending national dialogue that we are told will actually take place at a later stage. I'm convinced now, as I've always been, that South Africans have the wherewithal to solve for all our problems, all the crises that we face, be it unemployment, issues to do with safety and security in the country, the contentions around issues of health and the likes. We have the wherewithal. Where it really sort of sometimes doesn't really follow through, it's when we've gathered in the way that we gather and have these dialogues the way that we do in a truly South African way. It's now after we've resolved, this is the path to take, this is what will take us to solutions. That's where it then seems to sometimes fall apart and there's no follow through. So hopefully the dialogue, the national dialogue, when it happens later on in the year, it will actually be then accompanied by firm resolutions and a line of march and instructions, really. Forget the fancy use of line of march, instructions to those various sectors to say, this is what you are going to do over this period of time going forward. So it was really, really fascinating spending some time there. I managed to record one or two conversations that I will play out for you that also talk to the pertinent issues that we're dealing with in contemporary South Africa. Among the stories that are coming up on the show, let me tell you that the African National Congress, the ANC's National Executive Committee, its member, Dixon Masemola, says the party will propose a new bill in Parliament that will ensure that municipalities avoid numerous motions of no confidence against mayors. Masemola said this at a media briefing in Boksburg. This was on Saturday, and it was on the sidelines of the ANC's National Executive Committee meeting. It's a fascinating discussion because, you and I know about the instability that constant motions of no confidence have brought into the governance systems, particularly at municipalities where there was no outright winner, where one party governs with the support of the votes of other political parties. And everyone agrees that has introduced a fair amount of instability. But I'm keen, and you will hear in the conversation at about 6:45. I'm keen to hear from Dixon Masemola in the ANC how they reconcile the bill that they are proposing with the important role that motions of no confidence play, as was outlined by that judgment a few years ago, the Mazibuko judgment, about the importance of introducing democratic hygiene through such abilities as being able to remove a president, an executive, through motions of no confidence. So that conversation with Dixon Masemola is lined up for you at about 6:45. And then among the conversations that I recorded for you that I will play out at about 7:15 is with the Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi, who is not backing down. He actually says he expects no less than 5 lawsuits, including one from the GNU, Government of National Unity Partner, the DA, that are aimed at stopping the implementation of the National Health Insurance Act. He was addressing delegates at the Kgalema Motlanthe Foundation's Inclusive Dialogue over the weekend. Motsoaledi says the real war is not about the desirability or otherwise of universal health coverage, but rather it is about vested interest. And the minister going on to say that the mega profits that private healthcare businesses have amassed from a system that he says is characterized by anomalies. I'll have that conversation with Aaron Motsoaledi. It will play out for you at about 7:15 on the show. Of course, we have all of your regulars lined up. And Musa with your news updates every half hour. We have Rob Byrne with your traffic every 15 minutes or so. Zaikan is watching all things sport for you throughout the morning. Dauleng Lechela has your economics, business and market news covered. Sipho Mantula will have your Africa update just before 8 a.m. And of course, we are leading the conversation with you. We'll be taking your calls, and the number to dial is 086 000 2032. And I'll take your WhatsApp voice notes on the number 061 410 4107. This is SAFM, Conversations That Move Us. The first hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
The Southern African Queens of the Beautiful Game will produce real drama, passion, and excitement on Monday, 28 October. Madagascar tackles Botswana live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, while Mauritius confront Malawi on SABC Plus. Both matches kick off at 12 midday. Then at 3 p.m., 7-time champion South Africa clashes with Seychelles on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. And Eswatini faces Namibia, also at 3 p.m. Everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus. This is the Hollywood Best COSAFA Women's Championship, proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
We are a different kind of airline. One that's made travel affordable so everyone can fly. One that expands our routes to suit your needs. One that gets you there on time, more of the time, and who measures success in the smiles of our passengers. You could say we do things differently. We say we do things with heart, because without our heart, we'd be just another airline. Fly Safair, for the love of flying.
The Daily News Diary on SAFM.
And for that, let's say good morning to Anne. Anne, how was your weekend?
Good morning, Thulas. It was okay. Just okay.
Didn't do anything as exciting as I did.
No, actually, I'm green with envy.
Do nerdy things and just sit there. And people are spending weekends at festivals. Anyway.
Yeah, you know.
How are we looking on the diary today?
Well, focus, still on the suspected food poisoning cases, with the Education Department ramping up food safety awarenesses. And today, the Health Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, will be holding a media briefing just to give an update on the results of tests that were conducted on a chemical that was confiscated when spaza shops were raided after health inspectors were sent to Naledi in Soweto. That was following the deaths of the 6 children. The children died after allegedly eating snacks that was bought from a local spaza shop. Other stories we're looking at, the ANC strengthening its integrity measures, closing remarks by President Cyril Ramaphosa at the ANC NEC meeting, and the ANC NEC directing its Secretary General Fikile Mbalula to speed up the process of establishing a panel that will deal with the appeals processes, reviews, findings or recommendations of the Integrity Commission that's against any member of the party embroiled in any wrongdoing. It is also the final day of the ANC special NEC meeting today, where it was reviewing the work of the organization and its priorities in government. In court today, the Senzo murder trial expected to resume, and the case was postponed as the lead investigator, Brigadier Bongani Gininda, was still on the stand, and Saturday marked exactly 10 years since Mehiwa was shot dead at his then-girlfriend Kelly Kumalo's parental home in Vosloorus in the east of Johannesburg. In Limpopo, the bullying trial involving an alleged minor in Sibasa, Limpopo, set to resume, and the accused, who was a minor at the time, has just turned 18, making her eligible to stand trial. And this alleged bullying incident was captured on a video that went viral on social media platforms involving learners from Mbilwi Secondary School, and the victim later committed suicide following that incident. And Limpopo law enforcement authorities saying they are ready to ensure the province is crime-free during this festive season. The Festive Safety Program was launched yesterday, and the Police Commissioner General Tembi Hadebe is saying all structures are in place to fight crime during the festive season. So some of the stories that we are focusing on this morning.
All right, thank you for that. And I tell you what, from that list that you've just given us, one of the stories we will be taking forward is the issue around the banned insecticide that is believed to be behind the deaths that are linked to food bought at spaza shops. At about 7:10, we'll be speaking to Dr. Gerard Verdoorn, who is a toxicologist and has actually been doing some work in finding out how available is this particular pesticide in communities, and you'll be shocked at his findings.
Yeah, I know it's sold some places.
Yeah, he does say that he's been finding it. So we'll have that conversation at about 7:10. And Musa will keep you updated every half hour with your news here on The Morning Brief.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
So here's how your Monday weather is looking then. We start with these warnings. Oh, there are quite a few of them. And again, we're going to have to go through them. And then, in fact, there are so many, I think I'll then give you temperatures of the cities after that, because the warnings, as I always say, we prioritize. So the first one is an orange level 5 warning. It says damaging winds leading to difficult driving conditions and damage to settlements are expected over the Garden Route and Central Karoo districts of the Western Cape and the Karoo Hoogland municipality of the Northern Cape in the morning. Second one, an orange level 5 warning. Damaging waves and winds leading to disruptions to ports and harbors are expected between Cape Agulhas and Plettenberg Bay in the morning. Third, a yellow level 2 warning. Damaging winds leading to localized damage to settlements and travel disruptions are expected over the northern interior of the Eastern Cape. The fourth one is a yellow level 2 warning. Damaging winds and waves leading to localized disruptions to ports and small harbors are expected between Hondelklip Bay and Cape Agulhas in the morning. Fifth, an orange level 6 warning. Disruptive rain leading to flooding of roads and settlements expected over the Cape Winelands and Overberg districts of the Western Cape in the morning. The sixth one, a yellow level 4 warning. Disruptive rain leading to flooding of roads and settlements expected over the Garden Route district of the Western Cape. Then we have a yellow level 2 warning. Disruptive rain leading to localized flooding of roads and settlements expected over Kokama and Kocha municipalities of the Eastern Cape. And then lastly, we have a yellow level 2 warning about severe thunderstorms leading to hail, damaging winds and heavy downpours expected over the northeastern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, the eastern parts of Mpumalanga, and central and southern parts of Limpopo. Your temperatures then: Pretoria 13 to 28, Johannesburg 10 to 26, Mbombela 17 to 27, Polokwane 17 to 34, Mahikeng 10 to 25. Bloemfontein will be 4 to 18, Kimberley 5 to 20, Cape Town 13 to 21, Gqeberha will be 13 to 21, East London 13 to 23, Durban will have temperatures ranging between 17 and 24. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will be 13 to 28.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
Johannesburg Water is concerned about the current high water consumption, which is causing a severe strain on the entity's systems and threatens the sustainability of consistent bulk supply. Play your part in conserving water by following these simple tips. Reporting leaks and burst pipes. Do not leave taps dripping and repair your internal leaks. Wash your car on the grass as this will water your lawn at the same time and shorten your showering time. Together, we can reduce water wastage and protect this precious resource. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
Think bigger than just a banking partner. Think a team of specialized experts supporting you to make better financial decisions to enable your growth aspirations. Think a strategic partnership providing indispensable advice to help you make the right moves. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
At 23 minutes past 6, let's bring you this story that's been bubbling under and really just been playing out in the backdrop for at least the past 5 weeks. Boeing factory workers have voted to reject a contract offer and are instead pressing on with their more than 5-week strike. The vote was 64% in opposition to the deal, which offered a 35% rise in wages over 4 years. At least 33,000 machinists downed tools in September at Boeing's West Coast factories. This as workers push for a 40% pay rise and reinstatement of a defined benefit pension. For more on this and its global implications on aviation, I'm joined by Lyndon Burns, who is an aviation analyst and managing director at Plain Talking. Good morning to you, Lyndon. I hope I got the rest of your... Yeah, Plain Talking it is. Thank you for that. Lyndon, an offer of 35% pay rise over 4 years, one would have thought that would settle the disagreement. It suggests to me, and I wonder if it suggests to you as well, that the differences between these workers and Boeing are fundamental.
Hi, morning to Thulasizwe and to everyone who's listening this morning. Yes, look, the issue with the unions has been something that's been a long time coming. And this is the members of the International Machinists Association. So it's not just machine operators. It's mostly blue collar, but also a lot of middle management people who are involved in engineering who've gone on strike. You have to remember, Boeing have always had a philosophy of hire when there's high demand. You bring in people, and the minute the cycle turns, they tend to retrench and let go of people. They've been very keen on short-term contracts, and the last time they had a big labor powwow and a compact with labor was well over 15 years ago. In the interim, there have been all sorts of changes that have happened, including the withdrawal of the pension. And what it speaks to is a much bigger story, that it's a bit like the stone dropping in the water with having all these different ripple effects. So what have we got? We've had an absolutely calamitous, not just year since that door blew out of an aeroplane while it was in mid-flight. But it's really been a calamitous 5 years, actually, since the Lion Air and the Ethiopian 737 MAX accidents. Now, that's their bread and butter aeroplane. And then on top of it, they've run into delays with their new flagship aircraft, the 777X. They've got stop-start quality issues and production issues with the 787 Dreamliner. And all of this has happened against the backdrop where they've been found wanting in terms of quality control. There have been serious questions about the corporate culture since the reverse buyout with McDonnell Douglas now nearly 2.5 decades ago, which saw a shift away from engineering excellence to shareholder value. A big philosophy. They moved the headquarters away from the factories halfway across the states to Chicago, when Boeing's main activities are in Seattle on the West Coast. And they've been upsetting customers. Now, this is all happening at a time when demand for air travel is rebounding in leaps and bounds. We're expecting well over 4.5 billion people to, or 4.5 billion passenger journeys this year. So it requires, over the next 20 years, 28,000 new aircraft to be built between Boeing and Airbus.
I can't imagine then, Lyndon,
make them fast enough.
I can't imagine then that a disruption such as the strike that has gone on for about 5 weeks now would help ease that situation. In fact, it would just make things worse.
The strike has made it worse, but what started was when the American safety regulator, the FAA, stepped in earlier this year under pressure from Congress and Senate and said, Boeing, your quality control is not up to no good. We are going to restrict your output. We're not going to let you produce 60 aircraft a month. We're going to limit you to 20. Okay, so that's put them on the back foot. It's annoyed and upset a lot of their customers. And what we're seeing now, in fact, I don't think they're going to reach an agreement with the unions. We're starting to see signals coming from very well-placed people in the industry who've clearly been given a heads up saying Chapter 11, bankruptcy protection, is on the cards. Okay, that means what we had with SAA, for example. You go into a type of business rescue. There's a moratorium from your creditors. You're given the protection by the courts to restructure all of your finances, your debts, your labor agreements. And I think they're going to use that. They're already also, on Friday, they talked about disposing of their space business. They're running into trouble on their military business, which is meant to be the hedge against the cyclical version, the cyclical nature of the commercial aircraft division. Now, the other compounding factor, and this affects us here in South Africa, is that you've got a supply chain network that's worldwide. Even here in South Africa, we've got suppliers to Boeing and suppliers to airlines that use Boeing products. We've got aircraft seat component makers. We've got companies that make the lavatories and washrooms for aircraft. We've got companies that make the overhead stowages, things like that. A lot of those companies were affected during COVID when air travel was stopped, and they've been reluctant to ramp back up to full production ever since, partly because they lost a lot of people through retrenchment, retirement, and death. But they've been very nervous about exposing themselves to a situation where they're pumping out components, and then there's another immediate downturn or horrible downturn. So there's actually been a shortage of spare parts in the market. So that, combined with the manufacturers not being able to produce parts fast enough or produce aeroplanes fast enough, is causing pressure on the airlines in markets like ours, where we are looking at aircraft that typically have been operated by another airline for 5 to 7 years, that then come onto the market when they're being replaced. But those aircraft are now being kept in service for much longer. The price of second-hand aircraft is going up through the roof. The price of leased aircraft is going up the roof. Lyndon, and that is hampering, for example, SAA.
All right, Lyndon, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That's Lyndon Burns, who is an aviation analyst and the managing director at Plain talking about the woes that Boeing faces at the moment. At 6:30, let's go over to Ann Musa for the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to Loss. In the headlines, the ANC-NEC has directed its Secretary General Fikile Mbalula to speed up the process of establishing a panel that will deal with the appeals processes, reviews, findings or recommendation of the Integrity Commission against any member of the party who is embroiled in wrongdoing. The Health Minister, Dr. Arun Motsoaledi, is today expected to hold a media briefing to give an update on the results of tests conducted on a chemical confiscated when Spaza shops were raided last week following the deaths of 6 children in Aledi, Soweto. And the Senzumehiwa murder trial is expected to resume this morning in the Pretoria High Court. The case was postponed earlier this month due to the ill health of defense lawyer Thulasizwe Simelane. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Looks like trouble on the mighty Mopare Highway. Heavy queues at Block XX this morning. If you're leaving Shoshenguve, that's not good news. That's very heavy. Looks to be an impact on the northbound side as well, which gives you an idea that it must be pretty chaotic out there. The Maloto Road coming south on towards Sefako-Makato, that's busy. Again, not unusual for a Monday to see that section of Maloto Road backing up, but it is a little bit heavier than normal. Joburg's N3 under pressure today from Elands all the way through to that left lane closure at Van Buren, and that also is a bit heavier than normal. Queues between Crossmere and Joburg as you come up through the big construction works there. A lot of extra traffic back on a Monday morning after a weekend, so there's some extra delays on the N1 north of Crossmere Plaza up towards the services area. Crossing to Durban, 2 really big traffic lights out this morning. One already causing chaos, Phoenix Highway Trade Centre. If you're leaving Phoenix, that's really bad. Down towards Mount Edgecombe and the South Coast Road M7 junction, another busy one without traffic lights, and that traffic will just continue to build up around there. Cape Town, Mitchell's Plain, very heavy. M7, AZ Berman, both of those routes leaving the area up towards the R300 are under quite a bit of pressure. And the highway networks around Cape Town, well, it looks busy. There is some sort of wet weather after the weekend, so wet roads, busy Monday morning. N1 already backing from Belleville through to Sable Road, the N2 from just after the airport. You'll pick up traffic through to about Rappenberg Road in the Pinelands area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning, Zai. How was your weekend?
It was a weekend of seeing someone go down. Well, a team that I was not expecting.
Yeah, you're talking here about Masandawana, of course. Polokwane decided to rise and shine, and in the process stole Masandawana's shine.
You should have just seen how Orlando Pirates supporters and Kaizer Chiefs supporters were running around the building. You'd have thought they won the league. But anyway, it's not a great day at the office, but a great day indeed for Polokwane City, stunning the defending champions, Mamelodi Sundowns 1-0. It was a Betway Premiership clash in Polokwane yesterday. Sundowns lost their first league match of the season, and they've handed an early lead in this stage to Orlando Pirates, who are sitting on top of the standings after 5 rounds of matches. The Buccaneers have 15 points, while the Brazilians are stuck on 12, but the biggest mover of the weekend is Polokwane City. They climbed to 4th spot with 10 points from their 5 outings. Here's the Polokwane City head coach, Puti Mohafe.
We just came up with a plan of giving them the spaces on the sides become narrow and pounce on them when they have the ball, when they play those balls, diagonal balls to the sides. So we have to press them quicker or win the first ball. We made sure that we have to win the second balls. We made sure that we have to close the channels whilst we placed with 2 defensive.
And the other match saw Magesi battling bravely in the rain to come away from Athlone Stadium with a 0-0 draw against Cape Town City. Elsewhere, Jared Bowen scored a controversial 90th minute penalty as West Ham grabbed a 2-1 win over Manchester United at the London Stadium to leapfrog Eric Ten Hag's side on the table. And in the meantime, Cole Palmer producing one of the best passes in Premier League history, helping Chelsea overcome SuperSport United 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. Tennis action, the British number 1 Jack Draper celebrating his second ATP title following a tense straight sets victory over Karen Khachanov in the final of the Erste Bank Open. The 22-year-old, playing in his second competition since reaching the US Open semi-finals, won 6-4, 7-5 against the Russian world number 24 in Vienna. Golf, England's Liz Young won the Women's Indian Open by 1 shot. The 42-year-old trailed compatriot Alice Hewson and Belgium's Manon de Roy at the DLF Golf and Country Club in Haryana, India, before carding a final round 72 to finish 2 under par overall. De Roy went round in 74 to finish 1 shot behind Young and tied for second with Singapore's Shannon Tan, New Zealand's Mamoka Kabori and France's Agatha Sosson. And finally, Formula One, Carlos Sainz clinching his second win of the F1 season at the Mexico Grand Prix, while Lando Norris finished in second place, cutting Max Verstappen's championship lead to 47 points after the Red Bull racer picked up 20 seconds in penalties and ended up in sixth. Sainz teammate Charles Leclerc had to settle for third place after leaving the track and conceding second to McLaren's Drive Norris, who now has 4 more rounds to overturn Verstappen's championship lead. That's how we
Don't go just yet. Don't go just yet. I believe in my celebration I may have disrupted you. Newcastle United. You said Super Sport.
Oh.
I think I heard you say Super Sport.
Did I?
Yeah. They wish they could come up against Cole
Wow.
Palmer and be given
Unfortunately,
the
it wasn't.
treatment, the Stamford Bridge treatment.
Yeah,
Sorry
Cole
about
Palmer, Chelsea there overcoming Newcastle. I did say that. Oh, well, anyway, it's Monday. Hey, it's a win for Chelsea. Who's the biggest fan?
That's why I was celebrating. All right.
More sport, top of the hour. I'm Sai Khan.
Thanks, Sai.
The Business Update on SAFM.
And let's turn to Ndauling Lechela. Good morning to you, Ndauling. How was your weekend?
Morning, Silas. My weekend was good, thanks. Was yours good?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Spent it listening to smart people, so all good. Tell me about China's industrial profits declining in September.
So what's happening here? We had a number of economic prints from China throughout the month, and it did seem like things are taking a turn because those prints were a bit more upbeat. But industrial profits for September falling at their fastest pace since the pandemic, just fueling concerns again about China's economy. Those industrial profits declining 27.1% annually. This follows a fall of just over 17% in August. Profits in the meantime decreased 3.5% in the first 9 months of the year. Now, this print comes as China's economy continues to grow slower than anticipated and as it deals with deflation concerns and weak demand across many domestic sectors. Now, China's industrial profits serve as a key indicator of the financial well-being of its factories and mines. These profits also have a direct impact on investment decisions. Recently, declining profits have highlighted the significant challenges facing China's economy. In response, the government, of course, has implemented measures such as interest rate cuts to stimulate growth. Now, all eyes are on China's top government officials who will be meeting next week to discuss more measures. Investors are awaiting that meeting, hoping for approval of additional fiscal stimulus. Economists expect the gathering to greenlight plans to refinance local government debt and issue sovereign bonds to inject capital into banks.
And then in the United States, what's a new mining regulation got to do with Sibanye-Stillwater?
So what is happening there, Sibanye, they're just receiving a major boost from the U.S. government. The new regulation from the government will give the company a 10% tax credit for mining critical minerals like palladium, platinum, and lithium. Now, the change is a big win for Sibanye. Previously, only metal refiners were eligible for this incentive, not miners. CEO Neil Froneman praised the move, saying it will help sustain and grow the mining industry in a responsible way. The company's U.S. operations have faced challenges due to low palladium prices. To address this, the miner did cut production at its Stillwater mine and delayed expansion plans. But with the new incentives and rising palladium prices, things could improve. Sibanye-Stillwater is also exploring lithium production now. The company plans to invest $490 million in the Rhyolite Ridge lithium mine, this pending a feasibility study. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management has already approved an environmental permit for the project. Now, the new regulations will help the company reduce costs, increase productivity, and secure the long-term viability of its U.S. operations in particular.
All right, lastly for this hour, Ndawuleng, give us a recap of the markets here at home in Asia as well as the United States.
Starting off in Wall Street, U.S. stocks snapping a 6-week rally with markets ending last week on a mixed note. We saw tech gains being offset by banking losses. The Nasdaq there, the only indice in the green, closing 0.56% higher. Local markets also mixed, but mostly in the green. The all share gaining 0.09% at the close, boosted by the industrial 25, which was up 0.9%. The local unit still on the back foot. The rand is down over 3% this month. It's currently sitting at 17.72 against the dollar. Over in Asia, kicking off the week on a good note. Stocks in the region mostly in positive territory, and this despite the downbeat data we've been seeing coming out from China.
You know, the week has started in earnest once Ndawuleng Lechela has given you the first of your updates to do with money, business, and the economy as well as the markets around the world. She's just getting started. She'll be back with more in the second hour of the show here on the Morning Brief.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Lina Lakake Tlompokekana, I'm former Mamelodi Sundowns captain. I'm a sports analyst, Lago SABC Sport. When I'm home, I try by all means to practice cooking. My favorite home cooked meal, I'll go for pap and masonja because I can prepare that with easy. What do I normally get up to when I get a moment to myself? I would easily, play my guitar. I try to practice a lot of Tracy Chapman. My favorite foreign language is French. Bonjour. So if I didn't play beautiful football, I think I was gonna be a baseball player. What do I like about SABC Sport is the fact that we given an opportunity to educate.
Catch the exciting Diski analysis by Sompo Long Range Kakana on match days live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Did you know the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa is reopening passenger rail lines that were severely affected by infrastructure damage and cable theft? 31 out of 40 priority lines are now fully operational. 266 stations are fully functional in cities across the country. The Gibela Train Factory has manufactured 246 trains, and half of these are already being utilized by PRASA, which has completed 35 million passenger trips across different regions to date. Doing more together, building better infrastructure and delivering efficient service through collaboration. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
All right, at 7:15, let's turn to this story now. The African National Congress, the ANC's National Executive Committee member, Dixon Masemola, says the party will propose a new bill in Parliament that will ensure municipalities avoid numerous motions of no confidence against mayors. Masemola said this at a media briefing in Boksburg on Saturday on the sidelines of the ANC's National Executive Committee meeting. He said the proposed law will ensure that coalition agreements agreements are not just a quote-unquote gentleman's agreement. Dixon Masimola, who is also the Deputy Minister of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, joins me now for that conversation. Good morning to you, Mr. Masimola. Thank you for your time. What are the contours of this bill that you intend to propose as the ANC?
Yes, as the African National Congress, we are hard at work to make sure that the phenomenon that has emerged of coalition municipalities in many parts of the country, including some of the major metropolitan councils, which were characterized by serious instabilities to the extent that accountability, management, planning, and as well as delivery of services got affected. We thought that it will be extremely important following the work that was done by the Deputy President at some point when he convened political parties to begin to have a conversation on how best going forward we can manage these issues of coalition, given their complexities and the extent to which, like I said, the impact on leadership and as well as the stability and therefore service delivery suffers. So we are working towards introducing what is called a coalition bill, which will basically be an amendment to the Local Government Municipal Structures Act, which regulates the political component of municipalities. This bill that we are working on it will basically ensure that the coalition agreement amongst which political parties will have to agree on would not just become a mere document. It will have to have a legal standing that immediately after the council decided to agree on how do they coalesce, that agreement has to be a binding legal document which should be shared with their residents, with their constituencies, to be held accountable on the basis of that. That is the first important thing that has got to be managed to regulate this issue. The second thing that we're looking at towards introducing through that bill is the window period within which municipalities will have to be allowed to stabilize, because at the moment, despite whatever intentions at any given time in the morning, in the afternoon, they just decide to pull out of these coalitions. And from time to time, citizens and residents are really affected. So this proposal says we should be able to create a 2 years window period, which we call a cooling period within local government.
Did you say 2 years? 2 years?
Yeah, it will basically make that proposal, yes.
So,
cooling period for 2 years.
So the impact of that would be once parties enter into a coalition agreement, it becomes a binding agreement at law, but also then they have to stick with it for at least 2 years, is what you're proposing.
For 2 years before they could think of making any, adjustment or suggestions of collapsing that coalition. So it will have to be a coalition based on very clear principles, a clear legal understanding that this government that they will be constituting, it is not just a committee of political parties, but it is of leaders elected to take forward the actual development and the interests of their own constituencies. And it will therefore also, create a mechanism on how do you strike a balance between your mayoral executive committee, but also the need for executive committee mayoral type of a system. So that where there are no larger majority parties, as I said, the larger parties will have to agree on which one basically does it basically provide a mayor or a speaker, and which system do we put in place immediately, because the mayoral executive makes the mayor to assume all the powers, and therefore he or she may decide not to bring other parties on board. But if you put an executive committee system, each party will be basically entitled to a seat in the executive leadership of the council. And all these matters will basically bring a proper balance between diverse perspectives of parties, but also constructive voices that will take forward development of those municipal areas.
How will you balance the need for stability, which is obviously, I think everyone appreciates what you're trying to achieve with the bill, stability at local government. How do you balance that with the vital role that the Constitutional Court, for example, told us about in the Mazibuko judgment, Mazibuko versus Sisulu, that had to do with this issue of a motion of no confidence, where they said a motion of no confidence is a vital tool to advance our democratic hygiene hygiene. They also addressed that issue that there's no time frame that is set or preconditions for a motion of no confidence to be tabled and voted upon. And they basically said the ever-present possibility of a motion of no confidence against the president and the cabinet, and that applies all the way across the executive, all the way to local government, is meant to keep the president, the mayor, etc., accountable to the assembly which elects him or her. How will you balance accountability, democratic hygiene with the stability you seek?
Well, these are proposals that we will be working on for the public to basically engage, including even political parties. But the extent to which that will be, processed, it will be based on the appreciation of the fact that from the experience that we all have as South Africans, if you look at all your major metropolitan municipalities in the country, Johannesburg, Tshwane, Nelson Mandela Bay, Ekurhuleni, to mention but few, the extent to which these instabilities as a result of parties being unable to manage their complex, diverse perspectives and therefore their ideological beliefs, made it extremely impossible to have stability, particularly where you are supposed to be having, engines of your economic activity in the country, right, which basically will impact on major economic development to take forward this country at the end of challenges that we are confronted with. And therefore, local government is positioned to play that meaningful role seriously. So, and therefore, the instability becomes extremely important.
All right, Dixon Masemola,
it's understood, but as we move forward, we will have to find a way on how, despite that legal pronouncement, how do we ensure that there is that basic stability that takes forward development of our own communities and give them services.
Dixon Masemola, ANC National Executive Committee member, I've got to thank you for your time this morning, talking about issues that they are proposing on how to deal with instability at local government level.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We're very busy on some really key routes this morning. First up, the big one, the Mopani Highway coming out of Shoshenguve, big multi-vehicle pile-up at Block XX. It's about 5 lanes operating on that 2-lane highway currently, with some dangers of oncoming traffic. If you're going north into Shoshenguve, you've got some southbounders coming right in your carriageway, so very careful, very cautious out that way, but it's a massive backlog leaving Shoshenguve. You might want to think about the M35, the Sopan Road, down through Ondestaport as the alternative. We've also got a crash and the roadworks, a combo of 2-lane closures this morning on the N3 north at Van Buren. That's a big delay, very heavy coming out of Germiston and Alberton. Again, if you're on your way to the airport for flight connections, just reroute away from the run up to Galulis on the N3. It's heavy. Just try and take some side roads out through Germiston, Boksburg side. Very heavy on the N1, leaving Soweto. Big queues up towards the Gordon Road exit in Rudaport. I'm not sure whether it's a hangover from the weekend's big truck crash scene there, but it is exceptionally heavy. And some queues at Crossmere on the N1 after Crossmere Plaza into the big construction that's going on there. Durban, pile up another multi-vehicle, M4 North. This is the Southern Freeway by the M7. That's heavy from Jacobs up into Clarewood this morning. Just off the highway, lights are off M7 South Coast Road. Phoenix Highway at the famous Trade Centre junction. Those lights off. That's pretty heavily backed as well. Cape Town, there is a bit of sand along Baden-Powell after a windy weekend. Monmouth BC and also around Coastal Park. They're your 2 areas to watch for. Marine Drive, we just keep an eye on that with what's been happening at Loxton Road and Woodbridge Island recently, and it is already queuing up into that area again. So slow out of Tableview through Sunset Beach, and then that secondary queue passing the high school, looking quite heavy down towards that Woodbridge Island area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the Reed Dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
We are a different kind of airline. One that's made travel affordable so everyone can fly. One that expands our routes to suit your needs. One that gets you there on time, more of the time, and who measures success in the smiles of our passengers. You could say we do things differently, We say we do things with heart, because without our heart, we'd be just another airline. Fly Safair, for the love of flying.
The Southern African Queens of the Beautiful Game will produce real drama, passion, and excitement on Monday, 28 October. Madagascar tackles Botswana live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, while Mauritius confront Malawi on SABC Plus. Both matches kick off at 12 midday. Then at 3 p.m., 7-time champion South Africa clashes with Seychelles on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. And Eswatini faces Namibia, also at 3 p.m. Everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus. This is the Hollywood Best COSAFA Women's Championship, proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Whew, what a day. Time for that face mask. Leave the face mask on for 2 minutes. 2 minutes? That's not even enough time for it to work. I can't even send an email in 2 minutes or make a cup of coffee.
With Santam, 2 minutes is enough to insure your car online. When you're fully protected with the expert insurer, you're free to live in the moment, not in the worry. Santam. This is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
Eskom has made it easy for you to recode your meter. Customers must recode meters by 24 November 2024. All Eskom customers are reminded to recode their prepaid meters before 24 November 2024. If your meter is not recoded, it will not accept legally bought prepaid electricity tokens. Eskom has made this process easy for you. We have pre-coded all meters and they are ready for you to recode your meter yourself. To do this, go to any Eskom approved electricity outlet and buy an electricity credit token. Our teams are on standby to help you.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let's take two quick calls. Let me take one from Sipho in KwaZulu-Natal. Sipho, good morning. You want to talk to me about Stats SA. What about them?
Yes, my question here is, I have an uncle who was trying to apply for UIS. And then when he gets to the labor offices, he was told that PRASA did not register him. The system shows that he is not employed at all. Well, he has never been employed at all. And it was not him alone. It looks like most of, if not all, PRASA employees are not registered with the Department of Labor. So my question is, where does Stats SA get their stats?
What stats are you talking about? That's Stats SA now.
The employment rate.
Well, they have a methodology through which, and I would not be able to explain it, but I think the issue you are raising is about non-registration of PRASA employees with the Department of Labor.
Yes, because I would assume that they are getting information from Department of Labor to get the number of people that are employed.
I see what you're saying. I think there are a number of matrices that they monitor, Sipho, but you raise an important and a fascinating discussion. We should pick it up with the Stats SA for them to explain their statistical methodology as it relates to measuring employment and unemployment and the likes. Some of it, I believe, is survey-based, but I really, really do not want to commit to the methodology without having done enough research. The point you raise about PRASA, perhaps it is worthwhile for us to reach out to them and for them to explain some of what you've said this morning. Let's speak to Tabiso in the Free State. Tabiso, you want to talk about the Premier of the province?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well. Please go ahead.
I am good, sir. There's been a letter that has been circulating on social media and other mainstream media platforms of a guy named Patrick Puti, who claims that he has been requested to pay a sum of 1 million rand and another of 500,000 rand, and there is involvement of cars, of buying of cars. Then the Premier is said to be the one who is directly involved in this scandal.
Yes.
But when you take a good look at this person's company, this person was paid 71 million plus an additional of 7.9 million as retention. And they did no job. They did 3% of the job, but yet they are claiming that they did the job and they are not being paid and all those things. And they are claiming that they are being removed from the project just because they don't want to partake in corruption. But this is a person who has already paid R1 million in cash and 500,000 in cash.
So you suspect there's more to the story than we are being told?
Definitely.
All right.
Definitely, and when you take a good look as well as on the history of the owner of the company, it's dodgy because the company that is using now is the second one, and the first one was closed for similar reasons as well.
Let's leave it there. Thank you for that. That's Thabiso in the Free State talking about the allegations that have been leveled against the province's premier. Bringing us to 1 minute after 7. Let's get an update of the news from N. Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, ANC NEC to expedite integrity panel to address recommendations, and Mutsuledi to give an update on chemical found in Naledi spaza shops. Good morning. The ANC NEC has directed its Secretary General Fikile Mbalula to speed up the process of establishing a panel that will deal with the appeals processes, reviews, findings or recommendation of the Integrity Commission against any member of the party who's embroiled in wrongdoing. The special NEC adopted amendments to the terms of reference of the Integrity Commission and the step-aside guidelines. The announcement was made by ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa during his closing remarks at the party's NEC meeting in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg, yesterday.
The NEC directed the Secretary General to expedite the appointment of a panel to deal with appeals or reviews of the findings and or recommendations of the Integrity Commission before the NEC takes a final decision. The NEC agreed to develop a guiding perspective on leadership succession, informed by our document Through the Eye of the Needle. The NEC considered this to be of utmost importance.
The Nelson Mandela Metro Municipality in the Eastern Cape says it expects to permanently restore electricity supply in areas affected by power outages in the metro by Wednesday. Residents of the metro have been experiencing power outages following the disruptive rain that hit the metro last week. Aging infrastructure has been cited as the root cause of the problem. Member of the Mayoral Committee for Infrastructure and Engineering, Kanya Ngisha.
Well, we are almost there. We would say 90% of the problem is almost complete. We believe at least latest by Wednesday, power will be restored in all of those particular areas. The only issue, as I said, we're dealing with is ensuring that the ground dries up a bit so that it is safe and we can be able to restore 100% of the electricity that has affected those particular areas.
Meanwhile, residents say the power outages have caused inconveniences in their daily lives. The community leader, Reverend Tamsanga Kivu, elaborates.
I think it's very, very frustrating for members of this community because they were forced to do without electricity and water for days. As a result, it was difficult for them to cater to the needs of the people they are taking care of in their homes, especially with regards to the sick and the children. But the impact was felt the most by our learners because they were forced to sit at home during exams time.
Health Minister Dr. Aaron Mutsuledi is today expected to hold a media briefing to give an update on the results of tests conducted on a chemical confiscated when spaza shops were raided last week. About 140 health inspectors were sent to Naledi in Soweto, where 84 spaza shops were inspected following the deaths of 6 children. The children died after consuming snacks allegedly bought from a local spaza shop. Mutsuledi says the children are suspected to have died from a chemical agent rather than food poisoning.
Food poisoning, it means food contamination, specifically by bacteria. That is what medically is called food poisoning. When food is not well kept, and in simple language they say it was getting rotten or spoiled, those are the ones that make you sick, and doctors make a diagnosis of food poisoning. Whereas we are dealing with, we think, chemical that is lacing the food either inadvertently or deliberately or carelessly, but that substance needs to scientifically be linked with what has happened, and we move forward from there.
The Senzumewa murder trial is expected to resume this morning in the Pretoria High Court. The case was postponed earlier this month due to the ill health of the defence lawyer Thulasizwe Simelane. This past Saturday marked exactly 10 years since Mehiwa was shot dead at his then-girlfriend Kelly Khumalo's parental home in Vosloorus in the east of Johannesburg. 5 men are on trial for the soccer star's murder. 2 weeks ago, the state called its last witness, lead investigator Brigadier Bongani Kininda. And finally, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is expected to address the Security Council later today on the situation in Sudan. 18 months into the conflict, hostilities continue unabated as the warring parties engage in a protracted war. Fighting has intensified across multiple fronts between the Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces. Showan Bryce Peace reports that some 12 million people have been displaced, while estimates put the death toll at 150,000 in what some are now describing as Sudan's forgotten war.
The UN chief and several council members are likely to sharply criticize the ongoing violence in Sudan and again stress the need for an immediate cessation of hostilities that has created a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. The SG's latest report, pursuant to a council resolution adopted in June, describes an alarming intensification of intercommunal and identity-based violence as human rights violations significantly increase. Guterres is expected to focus on 3 areas: intensifying diplomacy towards ending the fighting, changing behavior of the warring parties, and supporting broader protection measures for civilians.
Recapping the top story, the ANC-NEC has directed its Secretary-General, Fikile Mbalula, to speed up the process of establishing a panel that will deal with the appeals processes, reviews findings or recommendation of the Integrity Commission against any member of the party who's embroiled in wrongdoing. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out. Are you blowing your paycheck on car insurance every month? Monica, 39 from Three Rivers, pays just 1,515 Rand a month for her 2018 BMW 320i.
Give Outsurance a call. It's a win-win. You can't lose.
Real savings, real benefits. Here's Yusuf.
Help it out. The service was quick. Absolutely phenomenal service from Outsurance.
SMS out to 30754 now. That's out to 30754. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a real mess getting through Galuli's interchange. Doesn't really matter which way you're coming. There's a crash on the N3, plus a stationary truck at Van Buren, plus, of course, the roadworks that have been there forever. Very heavy out of Alberton and Germans this morning on that N3 through towards Galuli's. Other side of town, coming in from Ekurhuleni, a collision after the highways N12 and R24 routes submerged. Some big traffic into the interchange coming that way as well. N1 North, really badly backed up Soweto through to Gordon Road this morning. If you're leaving Soweto on your way to Ridderport and Radberg, make sure you've got a ton of time to get through there. The mighty Mopoli Highway Block XX, still a very heavy backlog as you come out of Shoshenguve into another multi-vehicle collision there as well. Durban, all sorts of pressure around Spaghetti Junction, particularly the N3 outbound. There's some roadwork still after the weekend as you link through 4 level onto the N2 North and you sort of turn into the traffic on the N2, so that's quite an unusual backlog. Multi-vehicle pile-up, M4 Southern Freeway at Clarewood just before the M7, the Solomon Mhlanga Edwin Swales off-ramp. That's heavy this morning, coming in from Jacobs and Clarewood. Big delays on the Southern Freeway. And Cape Town side, Marine Drive again, queuing up out of Tableview through Sunset Beach to Milnerton. And you've got that secondary queue of traffic again going slow into Woodbridge Island. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
7:10 on this Monday. Good morning. This is the Morning Brief on SAFM. It's good to have you with us on this Monday morning. Coming up in this hour, we are perhaps beginning to narrow down the list of possibilities, the list of possible reasons for some of the incidents where children have eaten snacks or food bought at an informal trading stall or perhaps a spaza shop and shortly fall ill after that, with the result that a number of them have died. And this is after the Gauteng Police Commissioner on Thursday revealed that police had received the forensic reports of 11 deaths that relate to 11 deaths, 6 this year and 5 last year, and all, according to the police commissioner, were linked to insect poison in a class of chemical called carbamates. So we'll get a bit of a toxicology lesson in a moment with Gerard Verdoren, who is a toxicologist. You'll be amazed at what he has found about how easily available and easy to purchase and how cheap actually some of these carbamates are that are now turning up in the food value chain. He's been watching and following up on that and just basically sampling and trying to find out how easy it is to buy even after it has been banned for use in the country a couple of years ago, actually. Gerard Verdoren is on standby and will talk to me shortly. Then the other conversation, of course, is the conversation I told you about earlier on with the Minister of Health, Aaron Motsoaledi, who is basically saying that if you look through, the fire and fury, in fact, I think he used those words, that it has unleashed fury, this issue of the national health insurance. He says if you look beyond the fire and fury, according to him, there are interests and the mega profits that some in the private sector, private healthcare sector, have realized over a number of years. And he says it's not really about the desirability of universal health coverage, because according to Minister Motsoaledi, almost everyone agrees that there should be universal health coverage. It's just a disagreement of how exactly it should be realized. But also even there, he says the specifics are not forthcoming in terms of what it is that sectors such as organized business are opposing to be specific. But he does expect that there will be a flurry of court action. He says from the initial 2 court cases, right now he's pretty certain that he'll be dealing with 5 lawsuits that will include one from the Democratic Alliance, all of those opposing the implementation of the National Health Insurance Act. You will have seen, of course, City Press and the News 24 reporting extensively on that over the weekend, that there perhaps could be some kind of breakthrough that says, let's, ease up on the accelerator, on the implementation. We are yet to get confirmation, of course, of that from the presidency, but that is the conversation that is taking place around implementation of the NHI. So that conversation coming up within this half hour with Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi. All of your regulars, we have them lined up for you, but also I will be taking your calls in this hour, and the number to dial for that, 086 000 2032. I'll also take your WhatsApp voice notes on the number 061 410 4107. This is SAFM, Conversations That Move Us. The second hour of the morning brief starts now.
Are you blowing your paycheck on car insurance every month? Monica, 39 from Three Rivers, pays just 1,515 Rand a month for her 2018 BMW 320i.
Give our children a call. It's a win-win. You can't lose.
Real savings, real benefits. Here's Yusuf.
Help it out. The service was quick. Absolutely phenomenal service from Archer.
SMS out to 30754 now. That's out to 30754. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
For 120 years, Rhodes University has shaped history. From Sir George Corey's pioneering 62 conversations capturing the early history of the Eastern Cape, to the first email to be sent in South Africa, and now leading the way in nanotechnology. Rhodes University is more than an educational institution. We are a legacy in motion. Be part of the evolving legacy. Rhodes University, where leaders learn.
We are a different kind of airline. One that's made travel affordable so everyone can fly. One that expands our routes to suit your needs. One that gets you there on time, more of the time, and who measures success in the smiles of our passengers. You could say, we do things differently. We say, we do things with heart, because without our heart, we'd be just another airline. Fly Safair, for the love of flying.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the morning brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
Let's turn to the story now. The Health Minister, Aaron Motsoaledi, has revealed that health officials have identified a chemical believed to be linked to the recent suspected cases of food poisoning. Experts in toxicology and food security believe the chemical is a banned pesticide that is being illegally brought into the country. The country has been experiencing a spate of food poisoning incidents, one of which led to the deaths of 6 children in Naledi, Soweto earlier this month. For more on this, I'm joined on the line by Dr. Gerard Verdoren, who is a toxicologist. Good morning to you, Doc. I've got to thank you for your time. What are carbamates and what do they have to do, in your understanding, with the spate of poisonings that we've been seeing?
Carbamates are a particular group of insecticides that all have a similar type of molecule, and some of them are extremely toxic, like the LD-carb that we believe was the chemical that poisoned the children, and some of them are less toxic, like carbaryl, that people use in their homes very often for typical home pests, and also on animals to control ectoparasites. So it's quite a wide range of pesticides available in the country, but not all of them are equally toxic. There are some that are very toxic, like the LD-carb, and some of them are of lower toxicity, but they're generally used in agriculture and to a very small extent also in home and garden applications.
So tell me about LD-carb then. Is it banned in the country?
Yes, it's banned in the country. So the company who used to make LD-carb under the registration of Act 36 stopped production in April 2012, so the registration was revoked. It was never made again. And then I convinced the registrar of Act 36, Mr. Muzunga, to ban the possession of LD-carb in 2012. That was in September 2012. So currently it is completely illegal to even be in possession of 1 gram of LD-carb because of the highly toxic nature and because of the fact it came into the hands of crime syndicates that poisoned dogs. But now recently we saw that, I believe, a lot of impacts on human lives, and it is so toxic that you rarely, if ever, escape with your life if you unfortunately or accidentally ingest LD-carb.
Sure. So if it's banned, and it's been banned, you say, since 2012, the production stopped in 2012 at least. Not only is production banned, but also possession is banned. How is it finding itself into the food value chain and turning up, in these incidents that we are talking about?
Well, I've been around to many street vendors in all parts of the country, and the message is quite clear. There are foreign nationals bringing it in from Zimbabwe, and also we think from Nigeria, but that's not confirmed, but it's definitely from Zimbabwe. And then there are depots in Joburg where they decant it into smaller containers, and then they've got street runners who bring it out into the outposts of the country, like I live in Kleberga. Even here, the people tell you that they've got Zimbabweans coming along on a Thursday, for example, and then they sell it in the street vendors and to the spaza shops. And those people then sell it on to the public as a rat pesticide, they call it rat muti. And it is very often dispensed on the shelves in between all the foodstuffs. And if there's a mishap there and that packet breaks open and spills over into the open food, which is not in normal containers, or people take it home and they accidentally mistake it for black pepper because it looks like black pepper, it goes into the food chain, and you know what happens. Then people die from it. So that is the way it comes into the country, because there is no legal LD-carb in the country anymore.
And in fact, as part of your own research, you tried to see if you could buy it on the streets, and you found that it comes cheap.
You can buy it. I bought some stuff last week, which I know I'm not supposed to do, but I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. You can buy it, and at virtually every tax rank in the country. I've been to Joburg, I've been to Pretoria, I've been to Cape Town, been to East London, been to Kleberga, been to Kariga, I've been to Durban, Pietermaritzburg. Everywhere you buy LD-carb in the hands of street vendors and spaza shops that are not supposed to have it because it's a banned chemical.
There's a line that you said in the reporting of the Daily Maverick on this story, where you say that 20 grams of LD-carb is enough to kill 40 men weighing 80 kilograms each within 20 minutes.
That's correct.
That is scary.
That's correct. That is very scary. So it's very potently, very toxic. And even if you ingest a sublethal dose, you're probably not going to make it, because it's a powerful neurotoxin which shuts down your neurological system. And the most deaths come from the inability to breathe, because if it stops your central nervous system, your diaphragm can't move up and down to make you breathe, and then you die from difficulty of breathing.
Before it was banned, what was it used for, Doc?
It was used as a nematicide in the production of things like potatoes and maize and a lot of other commodities. So it was normally put into the planting furrow with a seed in the soil and then covered up. And interesting enough, in all the years I've been working in the agrochemical sector for CropLife SA of my own poison center, I've never ever had a poisoning case where it was applied normally. All the poisoning cases, whether it was with wildlife or people, domestic animals, or even with human beings, all of it was because it was used completely contrary to what the regulations say in terms of the label. So it is misuse, it is unlawful use that caused the death of people, not the normal use. And unfortunately, it became so bad that the company who was the registration holder decided to divest in it because it became out of control. And I myself even helped the company recover 8 tons of old LD carb and take it for incineration. But that didn't stop the tide. Now we see, I think there's more LD carb now in the country than there was in the time when it was still a legal chemical to be used by farmers for potatoes and other crops.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. That's Dr. Gerard Verdoren, who is a toxicologist there.
Ethical is what defines our business. I think Outsurance does have integrity. They are not just there for the money, they're there to create a relationship. It's like a partner in business. It's the best thing we've ever done to switch over to Outsurance. It's a no-brainer.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I was recently diagnosed with myelodysplastic syndrome. Patients like myself go through a long and strenuous journey to get a stem cell transplant. I am grateful for the support I've received as I wait for the call that my donor has been found. This Sunflower Month, be a lifeline to patients like myself by registering to become a stem cell donor. You can save a life by registering at dkmsafrica.org.
Imagine if you could save time like you save money. A second here, a minute there. Type a little faster, walk a little faster. Or you could stop scrolling on the internet. Just think of all the hours you'll save. Now what if you could take all that time and invest it? Watch it grow. Until eventually, one day, you'd have so much time that you wouldn't know what to do with it all. But unfortunately, time doesn't work like that. It can't be stored or banked. And unlike money, you can't make it back. That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do whatever you want to do, even if it is scrolling on the internet. Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the reed dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
The Health Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, says he expects no less than 5 lawsuits, including one from the Government of National Unity partner, the Democratic Alliance, aimed at stopping the implementation of the National Health Insurance Act. I will bring you that conversation with the Minister a bit later on, but we thought we should bring into the conversation the Deputy Director General in the department, who's responsible for National Health Insurance, and that is Dr. Nicholas Crisp. Good morning to you, you, Doc. I've got to thank you for your time. So there's a bit of a confusion, I suppose, as to where we stand with the implementation of NHI. It was subject to, that pushback from various quarters, and there was going to be further engagement at a political level. As the person responsible for its implementation, what's your understanding today of its status and implementation?
Morning to Thulasizwe and morning to the listeners. I'm not sure. There's no confusion on our side. While we understand that there's a democratic process and people will be approaching the courts, and we are informed of discussions in the government, those are political and legal processes. However, we have an act of parliament that is it is signed into law by the president, and in terms of our responsibilities as the officials in the department, we must do the necessary things to prepare for the implementation of NHI. Those are guided in Section 57 of the Act, and that's what we are busy with.
And when you say do the necessary things, I imagine that involves even assembling the resources required. Have you been able to budget for what the initial implementation is going to look like and make those submissions to the decision makers, at least, in as far as the finances are concerned?
So, Thulasizwe, there are 5 provisions for Phase 1 in that section of the Act. And some of them have been ongoing for a while and have been continuing prior to this period. So that includes various aspects of health system strengthening, which I think everybody's been talking about in the past, like improving infrastructure. So yes, there is a budget for that, and there are projects that are running. Improving some of the human resources constraints that are in the public sector, and there are various discussions with the National Treasury and the stabilization of parts of the human resources structures. So that is ongoing. There's provision in that section for some legislative amendments, and in particular, that is the preparation of the regulations that will allow the implementation of certain sections of the Act. Clearly, this is a long-term program, so one doesn't bring the entire Act into law at the same time. But the requirement of Phase 1 is to establish the governing body and to make sure that at least the basic administration is in place. So 2 years ago, there was permission given for a branch in the National Department to be strengthened, and we have been filling a handful of posts for that. I'm sure the public is well aware of that because that was also challenged in court. In fact, we have done well and have employed a few of those people. In the meantime, we are hoping that by the end of November, the Minister will be in a position to publish for comment draft regulations for the governance of the entity. So it's not until that is all in place that a Section 3A entity can be established, which is provided for in Section 9 of the Act, and only then will Treasury allocate a budget to that entity. Clearly, there's a budget process which ends up in Parliament, and Parliament is the one that allocates budgets. So for now, Parliament has allocated a budget to the National Department to do this preparatory work, and that's what we are busy with right now.
And what's the size of that budget of doing that preparatory work at least?
So it's in bits and pieces because some of it's in conditional grants. As I've indicated, some of it is health system strengthening. But we have in the National Department for the development of the sort of primary healthcare work, which we call contracting units for primary healthcare. The budget that was allocated is 103 million rand for this year. And then for running our own branch, it's about 300 million, which includes the capital of some of the computer hardware, the development of the of some of the software that's going into there. We do get some support from donor partners as well, so the actual amount of money that's available for the preparatory work is significantly more. But it is quite difficult because it's very disaggregated in different parts of the budget to tell exactly what the amounts are.
So if I understand correctly, you have a branch now within the department, but that will make way for this entity to be established, the fund that will actually be now a statutory body established in terms of that law.
Yes, indeed. So that's the usual transitional process. It's the same thing that happened with the establishment of other entities. So it starts off in a department, like the Border Management Agency did, like the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority did. It starts off inside the department as a small body that is a formal structure of the National Department reporting to the National Director General. That's where we are at the moment in this transition. And that's the branch that was doing the background work when the bill was going through Parliament.
Sure.
And that's the branch that I lead at the moment. Ultimately, it will fall away, and the entity will be established, and then there's a labour process. I'm sure you're aware of Section 197 of the Labour Relations Act, where posts in the new entity get advertised, and people who are currently in the branch with the functions of the new entity will be given the opportunity to move to that entity.
So to
and
sum
then
up,
the entity will have to be built from there. Sorry?
To sum up then, as far as you are concerned within the department, you are proceeding with the work until you are told to stop, and you haven't been told to stop yet.
That's correct.
All right, thank you for that. Nicholas Crisp is the Deputy Director General for National Health Insurance at the Department of Health. Let's check in now with Ann Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says the party is facing a crisis of authority, legitimacy and trust. Ramaphosa says this has been evident in the party's electoral decline at the 29 May polls, where the ANC lost its majority for the first time in 30 years. The bullying trial involving a former Mbilwi secondary school learner in Sibasa, Limpopo, is set to resume in the Tohoyandou Children's Court today. The alleged bullying incident was captured on a video that went viral involving learners from the school. And Japan faces a period of political uncertainty after yesterday's snap election that left the dominant Liberal Democratic Party unable to form a majority government for the first time since the Second World War. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Really heavy traffic on the southern side of Joburg this morning. We've got some crashings. N1 North at Deep Cliff Interchange linked to the N12 to get down to Uncle Charlie's. A crash in the Deep Cliff Interchange causing a fat delay from the Potchefstroom Highway side up through Devlin Elders. Really heavy backlogs. The Mike 1's got a crash around Empire Road, so very heavy coming through from Gold Reef City. Crash on the N3 at Van Buren, so the N12 and R24 it's badly backed up. And then going north on the N1 from Soweto through towards Gordon Road, Rudaport area, that's a very heavy delay as well. R59 North queuing heavily going into Michelle Avenue, and a crash at Galuli's N12 and R24 routes under some pressure as you get into that Galuli's interchange area. N14 Krugersdorp Highway heavy to Brockfontein. The N4 into Pretoria is badly backed up from Rousseau Street through the N1 and down into Hatfield. And the R80 Montpellier Highway still really jam-packed into a crash leaving Shoshanguve at Block XX. Durban, some pressure going north as well. Toti through Prospecton on the N2, that's heavy. The M4 Southern Freeway, a crash up by Clarewood this morning, so from Jacobs, really heavy up towards the M7. Some roadworks lingering from the weekend. N3 outbound ramp to the N2 at Spaghetti Junction causing delays. Cape Town's N7 pretty heavily jammed into Bosmansdam Road going south. Marine Drive this morning is a heavy Monday. Queuing deep back in Sunningdale right through Sunset Beach towards Racecourse Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, Zai, you know when they say go busy, it's just busy, man, with Banyana. How many squads do they have? Where and how are they playing? What is happening?
Well, there's the young Banyana squad, and they are cleaning up big time. They're on a winning streak. They secured 2 back-to-back victories in the Hollywood Bets COSAFA Cup Championship. They had a 3-0 win over Eswatini on Friday, and these young stars, they topped their group, which is Group A, with 6 points, and they're ready to take on Seychelles, which is their final group match today, and that's at 3 p.m. Now, Seychelles have had a rough time, conceding 13 goals in those first 2 games. Meanwhile, our senior Banyana squad, they're they're in England preparing to face the Lionesses tomorrow, and that's after a tough 5-0 loss to Denmark that happened on Friday. Elsewhere, Polokwane City stunning Mamelodi Sundowns 1-0 in their Betway Premiership clash in Polokwane yesterday. The Buccaneers have 15 points, while the Brazilians are stuck on 12, and the biggest mover of the weekend is Polokwane City, climbing to 4th spot with 10 points from their 5 outings. The other match, Magesi battling bravely in the rain to come away with a draw. That's a 0-0 draw against Cape Town City. All happened at Athlone Stadium. Elsewhere, Mohamed Salah rescued Liverpool as Egypt Stars' late equaliser earned a 2-2 draw against the title rivals Arsenal yesterday. Onslaught side were on the brink of only their second defeat this season until Salah netted with 9 minutes left at the Emirates Stadium. Here's Liverpool boss Onslaught.
Against a very strong and good Arsenal team, then to get a point is pleasing to see, especially because we had to play an away game in Europe this week. We had 1 day less to recover and to prepare, and then to go 2 times behind with the fans being so loud. And us coming back so strong the second half. It's very pleasing to see that we had the energy and that we were so strong to fight ourselves back in the game.
Now, Jared Bowen scored a controversial 90th minute penalty, West Ham grabbing a 2-1 win over Manchester United, and Cole Palmer the star as he helped Chelsea overcome Newcastle United 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. Bayern Munich returning to the top of the Bundesliga in style. 5-0 was their victory over Bochum. And in tennis action, Giovanni Pesce-Pericard won his first ATP 500 title at the Swiss Indoors in Basel with a 6-4, 7-6 win over the 6th seed Ben Shelton. At number 50 in the ATP rankings, the 21-year-old Pesce-Pericard made history as the lowest-ranked player to win in Basel since it became a tour-level event in 1975. And finally, Formula One, Carlos Sainz clinching his second win of the F1 season at the Mexico Grand Prix, while Lando Norris finished in second, cutting Max Verstappen's championship lead to 47 points. Sainz teammate Charles Leclerc had to settle for third place. Here's the race winner, Carlos Sainz.
It's incredible. It's incredible to see this crowd. I've been feeling their support all week. I feel like I have a lot of fan base here in Mexico, and they've gave me a lot of strength to do the weekend that I've done. Honestly, I really wanted this one. I really needed it also for myself. I wanted to get it done. I've been saying for a while I wanted one more win before leaving Ferrari, and to do it here in front of this mega crowd is incredible. Now 4 races left. I want to enjoy as much as possible, and if another one comes, I will go for it.
We'll leave it in the fast lane. More sport, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning once again to Ndauling Lechela. Good morning to you, Ndauling. So I see that First Rand is busy in the United Kingdom's courts. What's that all about?
So First Rand taking a blow, suffering a setback after a UK court ruled that it unlawfully paid commissions to car dealers without disclosing this information to customers. The decision exposes First Rand to a potential 3 billion rand liability and has already resulted in legal fees exceeding 300 million rand. Now, the UK court found that First Rand's London branch intentionally concealed commission disclosures in fine print, making them unnoticed by customers. The court also ruled that motor dealers owe a fiduciary duty to customers, a finding that First Rand disputes. According to the banking group, dealers function independently, with their primary goal being to sell vehicles and therefore do not owe customers a duty of loyalty. In response, First Rand plans to appeal the decision, citing concerns about the far-reaching consequences for the motor finance industry and consumer finance sectors in the UK. Now, this case is part of a broader investigation by the UK's Financial Conduct Authority into discretionary commission arrangements in the motor finance sector. The FCA banned discretionary commission arrangements in 2021, but the investigation continues to examine historical arrangements. First Rand has already set aside 3 billion rand in provisions for potential penalties related to the investigation, and the ruling has sparked concerns beyond First Rand, with the Finance and Leasing Association warning of significant and unexpected implications for the entire consumer finance sector. The association has called for immediate attention from the FCA. Now, FirstRand, not the only bank that's being pinpointed here. Another South African bank, Investec, is also caught up in the FCA's investigation, having set aside 687 million rand for potential compensation and costs.
Speaking of the UK in Dowling, I see that TFG has acquired the retailer White Stuff. Tell me a bit more about that deal.
That's right. So TFG, also known as the Foschini Group, expanding its footprint in the UK. The clothing retailer has concluded a deal with British retailer White Stuff. TFG didn't disclose how much it's paying for the asset, but said it's being funded through existing banking facilities of the UK business. Now, this will add on to TFG London, a subsidiary of the group. The deal adds 113 stores and 46 concessions, increasing TFG London's turnover by close to 50%. Company CEO Anthony Thernstrom praised White Stuff's high brand equity and growth potential, welcoming the experienced management team led by CEO of White Stuff, Joe Jenkins. Now, the business also operates 6 stores and 25 concessions across Europe, retails online internationally, and has 606 wholesale stockists, 178 in the UK and Ireland, and 428 internationally. Now, once concluded, TFG London will be in a position to create a unified retail platform in the UK, which largely mirrors its platform structure in Africa and Australia.
And lastly, Dowling, a recap of the markets here at home in Asia as well as the United States.
So sentiment pretty upbeat in Asia this morning, and this despite downbeat economic data from China. With that, the Japanese Nikkei is up over 2%, while China's Shanghai index is just above the flat line, gaining 0.09%. In Wall Street, futures turning green, on track to start the week on an upbeat note. So lots to digest over in the US. Focus is shifting to tech earnings this week. Meanwhile, back at home, the JSE closing mixed, but mainly in positive territory. The All share up 0.09% in Friday's close. The currency, however, not holding up well, with the rand trading at 17.72 against the dollar. Analysts are warning of more volatility as traders eye Finance Minister Enoch Gorongwana's midterm budget being delivered on Wednesday.
The morning briefs, Dowling Lechela there with your business news market update. Expect one more from Dowling coming up just before the opening of trade for this Monday at the JSE.
Africa Update on SAFM.
For that, let's turn to Advocate Sipho Mandula. Good morning to you, Raz. Did you have a good weekend?
First morning, Thulas. Indeed, it was a very humble weekend, Thulas. I can hear you were in Drakensberg in the battle of ideas.
I was imbibing, absorbing all the ideas, sitting there like a sponge and taking it all in, not saying a word. Sipho, let's start with Egypt, South Africa, as well as this, shuttle diplomacy by the Ukrainian foreign minister. What's that about?
Thulas, this meeting is very important that the Minister of Ukraine has started in the Middle East, went to Cairo. In Cairo over this weekend, he raised the issue of the Middle East, the Gaza conflict, that the issue of peace is very fundamental in terms of Ukraine's role. But he went further to raise the issue of Russia and Ukraine conflict. And as we know, Thulas, he has jetted in this country yesterday, and there's already on the Twitter streets the presidency and the DA Minister of Home Affairs around his visit and the issues of the visas. But at the same time, this meeting is very important to us because he's here to come and urge for the Global Peace Summit, which they want to invite Russia to be involved towards the end of the year.
Interesting to see that there's perhaps a shift in the emphasis now being on the peace formula rather than mobilization one way or another. Let's talk about Botswana going to the elections. We are 48 hours away from these elections, and it's looking like the president there is looking strong ahead of that election.
Absolutely, Thulas. We are on 48 hours of Botswana decides 2024. Mokgweetsi Masisi, at the age of 63, Thulas, is going for the second term. And others have said that all his opposition or his candidates, others who are contesting, last week they had a public debate and is still contending that he'll be back in office. We are not looking at that only, Thulas. 6 political parties are also contesting for 61 seats in the National Assembly, as well as the local council, where we are talking of 609 seats that it will be up for grabs. Now, Botswana decides, Thulas, we'll give our listeners more about Gaborone this week, Thulas, because it's very important. We have touched on our observers. Now we are focusing on the bread and butter issues. What are these political parties are going to be promising to their voters as they are winding their electoral campaigns?
Absolutely important updates. We'll have more with Sipho over the next few days. In Sudan, this is quite heartbreaking. More carnage there, more death and destruction in Sudan.
Thulas, this is very sad. For this past 18 months, we have this conflict. Over this weekend, we had more than 124 people being killed. This is in the village in El Gizar, where the Rapid Support Forces blame the government to be arming civilians. And at the same time, the RSF denying those killings, Thulas. But if you look at the numbers now, 124, Thulas, this is very sad when you look at the conflict that has emerged in 2023 in April, that Sudan, it is still not on what I call international global debate. But we saw it even in the 16th BRICS summit that President Ramaphosa raised the issue of Sudan, as well as the UN Secretary General has been raising the issue of Sudan. But you ask why Sudan is still in this conflict where we lose women and children between the two military groups.
Yeah, it's an underreported conflict that, Sipho. Let's talk about Haiti, Port-au-Prince. There was an attempt to move and seize the capital by the gangs.
This gang call themselves living together, but it seems they are living apart, Thulas. Because living together, if you cannot attack the capital city, at the same time threaten the national key points, like the international airport was threatened over this weekend. This comes from a gang that call themselves Viva Asama, which I said earlier, it means living together. This is the gang that was formed in 2023, contesting power with the then Prime Minister. And as you know, Kenyans are there, you have Americans there, but it seems they're not winning the battle against the gangster. You have Gabriel General Barbecue. You have many generals there who are just gangster ravaging one of the Caribbean islands, one of the great countries in the diaspora, Thulas, when you talk about Haiti, but it found itself in the gang battle warfare.
Lastly, Sipho, take us through your historical archives. 28 October 1997. What happened in Zambia?
Interesting story, Thulas, that there was an attempted military coup against the then President Frederick Chiluba. And he called this operation Born Again, Thulas, but this was a drunk captain. They call him Stephen Lunga, Captain Solo, who went to say that he has been told by an angel, Thulas, to overthrow the government of Frederick Chiluba. But on this day, it was quashed by the military when he went to the broadcasting radio station to say that he's taking over the government. He will appoint cabinet as military men. So military coups are not only in West Africa, Thulas, even in the SADC. We have seen it 27 years ago in Zambia, the land of Kente Kaunda. Asante sana, Thulas, Eswatini in your conversation, SAFM.
All right, thank you for that, Sipho Mantula, with your Africa update. Always fascinating with that flavor of some of the stories that you are aware of and those that you should be aware of that are playing themselves across the continent and its diaspora.
Are you blowing your paycheck on car insurance every month? Monica, 39 from Three Rivers, pays just 1,515 Rand a month for her 2018 BMW 320i.
None of the insurance companies has come near to the price I'm paying. I am happy at Outsurance. I'm going nowhere.
SMS out to 30754 now for a quick quote that could save you hundreds every month. You'll also find out about included benefits like panic assistance and help it out 24-hour roadside assistance. Yusuf, 45 from Tegadal, pays just 700 Rand a month for his 2021 VW Polo.
Help it out. Took the family up to go and see the snow and I got stuck. The service was quick, even though it was in a very remote area. Absolutely phenomenal service from Outsurance.
SMS out to 30754 now. That's out to 30754. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and limits apply. Premiums are risk profile dependent and reviewed annually. Client comments do not constitute financial advice.
Get ready for the biggest night in South African music. Tune in to SABC 1 on the 2nd of November at 8 p.m. for the 30th South African Music Awards, celebrating our finest local talent. Catch the yellow carpet action from 6 p.m. and join us as we honor the legends and voices that shape our sound. For more info, visit samusicawards.co.za. Hashtag Less Noise, More Music. Hashtag Summer 30 in partnership with the SABC.
The Southern African Queens of the Beautiful Game will produce real drama, passion, and excitement on Monday, 28 October. Madagascar tackles Botswana live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, while Mauritius confront Malawi on SABC Plus. Both matches kick off at 12 midday. Then at 3 p.m., 7-time champion South Africa clashes with Seychelles on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. And Eswatini faces Namibia, also at 3 p.m. Everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus. This is the Hollywood Best COSAFA Women's Championship, proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply. SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's still very busy in from the southern side of Joburg going north, if you like. Multiple routes under pressure. A crash at Van Buren on the N3. That's heavy this morning. The N3 north from almost Grey Avenue in Germiston. The N12 from Reading Interchange. Those highways jammed up into Elands and then all the way past Cement Factory up towards the crash and the roadworks at Van Buren. 59 is quite heavy with a queue through to Michelle Avenue on your way to Joburg. Crash on the Mike 1 near Empire Road. So extra pressure getting through the Crown this morning from Gold Reef City. M2 from Joe Slover to join the Mike 1's heavy via Crown. N1 north from Eldo's up through Deepcliff down Uncle Charlie, still jam-packed, and the N1 north passing Soweto up towards the Gordon Road exit. Very heavy delays there as well. The Mopani Highway crash at XX causing chaos out of Shoshenguve. It's still heavy this morning as you leave the Shoshenguve area. The M35, the alternative Soutpan Road, is pretty heavy as well with diverting pressures going very slowly in towards the Onvistaport area. N4 through Vatomea down into Hatfield on your way to Pretoria is a heavy backlog as well. Durban, a couple of crash scenes. One at Peacevale on your way to Pietermaritzburg. That's quite heavy. A crash on the Southern Freeway at Clarewood Rossborough. So coming through from Jacobs, the M4 very heavy up to that crash, which is just around the M7 highway exit and just off the highway M7 South Coast Road. No traffic lights, so that's all backed up. All approaches around that one. Cape Town coming out of Tableview. There's no lights at Malabongwe at the N7 bridge, so there's an extra wait there. N7 from Malabongwe through Plattercliff to Bosmansdam Road is heavy, and Marine Drive still clogged from Sunningdale on the run through Sunset Beach. Queues down towards Racecourse Road Junction in Milnerton. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
We are a different kind of airline. One that's made travel affordable so everyone can fly. One that expands our routes to suit your needs. One that gets you there on time, more of the time, and who measures success in the smiles of our passengers. You could say, we do things differently. We say, we do things with heart, because without our heart, we'd be just another airline. Fly Safair, for the love of flying.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, let's dive straight into your calls. Let's speak to Skumbuzo, who is calling from Vryheid. Good morning to you, Skumbuzo. You want to talk to me about Eskom power supply. What about it?
Yes, Baba, the problem is Eskom, Baba, we're having a problem. Ama meter boxes that we are using, Babati Voltex, information they are saying they are old. So this KRN thing, we've already done it. It's already on KRN 2, but we cannot put in our credit that we've purchased. Other people cannot even buy electricity. We've been to their offices, nothing is happening. And they've known about this problem since last year. They told us from their offices.
So what's the result of that, of not being able to purchase these tokens? Are people in the dark because of it?
Yes, right now we're in the dark. My meter box now is 00, and even my neighbor is 00. So we can't use. They are actually forcing us to go to the Nyawanyo post. Already there are people who are selling us new meter boxes 3.5. They are saying they're going to sell us those meter boxes 3.5.
All right, Skhumbuzo, thank you for raising that. If someone from Eskom is listening, there's definitely an issue for you to attend to there. If people have tried to do this recoding, but it's not helped them and they find themselves sitting in the dark, as you hear there from Skhumbuzo saying that they are sitting in the dark in that area, there's definitely something for you to attend to there. Let me hear from Lungelo, also in KwaZulu-Natal. Lungelo, good morning to you. You want to talk to me about contaminated food?
Yes, good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to your listeners. So I have a theory. Obviously, with all theories, there's a process of elimination.
Sure.
I think we're dealing with a domino effect, which is leading to a ripple effect. Now, as I was listening to what the substance is, which has been found, which is sort of a pesticide of sorts, there's something which is called ujuta. You usually find it in taxi ranks. It's actually for rodents.
Yeah.
Very effective, small quantity. Put it on whether it's cheese or tomato, whatever it is, but it does the job really, really well. Now, if you're finding this within tuck shops all at the same time, my theory is somebody finds out about ujuka, buys it in large quantities, is able to deal with the rat effect or rodent effect, tells all of his other friends that, listen, I finally find something which is very effective. Now, the challenge with these places when it comes to food preparation, it's the issue of health and safety where there's easily contamination.
Yeah.
So whilst this is actually working for them to deal with rodents within their spaza shops, but then the cross-contamination when they're preparing food is what is now getting into the food and is actually killing these children.
Yes, spot
now,
on.
the reason I'm saying that it's a domino effect because it's something which hasn't been happening, but it happens now scientifically in large quantities, which means that there's something which has entered the market. It's very effective for something. However, it then has side effects which these guys are not necessarily conveyant to or are not aware of. It's just a theory.
You're absolutely spot on. Your theory is spot on. It's what the expert that we spoke to earlier on was saying.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
So the lobby group Gun Free South Africa is urging government to strengthen its gun control strategies to put an end to the recent mass shootings in the country. The group, which fights against the existence of illegal firearms, says its research has revealed that in less than 3 months, more than 100 people died in mass shooting incidents throughout the country. Let's bring into the conversation Adele Kirsten, who is a founding member of Gun Free South Africa. Good morning to you, Ms. Kirsten. I've got to thank you for your time. So just give me a sense of your research and looking at the recent incidents of mass shootings. What is your understanding of the role played by illegal firearms and the proliferation thereof in these incidents that we have seen?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and also hello to your listeners. That number has now risen to 120 people shot and killed in mass shootings across the country over the last 3 months. And of course, it's gone up because of those 2 mass shootings here in the Western Cape last week. So Gun Free South Africa has a gun violence map. Anyone can go and look at it on our website, where we just monitor the kinds of guns shootings that are happening. Sometimes who the victims are, like we pay specific attention to women who are shot and killed by intimate partners. And we've seen this phenomenon kind of emerging over the last 2 years, with the first being in July 2022 with that big shooting at a tavern in Soweto where 16 people were shot and killed. I think what's important to remember is that these are the people who were killed. Many more have survived. And so we're looking at bigger numbers. But I think there's consensus now across the field here in South Africa that the single biggest contributor to the scale and the increase of these mass shootings is the availability of guns. And that's particularly the guns circulating in the criminal market. But of course, those guns come from some legal supply. So that has to be the priority, is to actually stop the circulation of illegal guns.
So how do we do that? When you talk about government strengthening its gun control strategies, what are some of the key priorities that should be addressed as a matter of urgency?
The two key priorities are to recover the illegal guns and to stop the supply. You have to reduce availability. So let's go back to recover the illegal guns. So these are guns already in circulation. The SAP's priority must be to recover them. And that can only really happen through establishing specialist firearms units that are intelligence-driven and intelligence-driven operations. So that's how you recover. But once you've recovered, SAPS needs to track and trace. So that includes ballistics. But the purpose of the track and trace is also to identify the source, essentially the supply chain. Where are these guns coming from? So we know most guns were once legal. So SAPS has to identify the source or the supply line. And then the second key priority action is to stop the supply. So you have to turn off the tap. And there are a number of actions that SAPS can take at that level. But I'll hold it there for now.
All right. Adele Kirsten, thank you. Adele Kirsten is a founding member of Gun Free South Africa, weighing in on the mass shootings that we have been seeing recently in the country. And bringing us to 8 a.m., time now for a news update with N. Musa. Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
In our top stories, Ramaphosa speaks on change ANC has brought, and Mutsuledi to give an update on the chemical found in Naledi Spaza shop raids. Good morning. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says the party is facing a crisis of authority, legitimacy and trust. Ramaphosa says this has been evident in the party's electoral decline at the 29 May polls, where the ANC lost its majority for the first time in 30 years. He delivered the Oliver Tambo Memorial Lecture yesterday in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. Ramaphosa says it's only the ANC that has brought fundamental change to the lives of South Africans in the last 30 years, even though some sectors have written it off.
We've heard about the ANC now joining the pantheon of national liberation movements that have, in quotes, failed in governance. All this said of an ANC that over the past 30 years has brought about deep, fundamental and lasting change to the lives of millions of South Africans.
The bullying trial involving a former Mbilwi secondary school learner in Sibasa, Limpopo is set to resume in the Toyando Children's Court today. The accused, who was a minor at the time, has just turned 18, making her eligible to stand trial. The alleged bullying incident was captured on a video that went viral involving learners from the school. The victim, Lufuno Mavunga, later committed suicide following the incident. It's expected the Defence Council will proceed with its application for the accused to be tried as a minor in terms of the Child Justice Act. This as the incident occurred while she was still a minor. Karabo Khafane reports.
3 years after the alleged bullying incident, the trial is set to proceed as the accused has just turned 18 years old. The victim, Lufuno Mavunga, died at Slom Hospital after allegedly consuming an overdose of pills. The accused teenager is being tried for assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. The matter is being heard through video camera, with only her parents, legal representatives and the prosecution allowed in court. The accused remains in the custody of her parents.
The Senzumeiwa murder trial is expected to resume this morning in the Pretoria High Court. The case was postponed earlier this month due to the ill health of the defence lawyer Thulani Mgomezulu. This past Saturday marked exactly 10 years since Mehiwa was shot dead at his then-girlfriend Kelly Kumalo's parental home in Vosloorus in the east of Johannesburg. 5 men are on trial for the soccer star's murder. 2 weeks ago, the state called its last witness, lead investigator Brigadier Bongani Gininda. The Health Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, is today expected to hold a media briefing to give an update on the results of tests conducted on a chemical confiscated when spaza shops were raided last week. About 140 health inspectors were sent to Naledi in Soweto, where 84 spaza shops were inspected following the deaths of 6 children. The children died after consuming snacks allegedly bought from a local spaza shop. Motsoaledi says the children are suspected to have died from a chemical agent rather than food poisoning.
Food poisoning, it means food contamination, specifically by bacteria. That is what medically is called food poisoning. When food is not well kept, and in simple language they say it was getting rotten or spoiled, those are the ones that make you sick, and doctors make a diagnosis of food poisoning. Whereas we are dealing with, we think, chemical that is lacing the food either inadvertently or deliberately or carelessly, but that substance needs to scientifically be linked with what has happened, and we move forward from there.
And finally, Japan faces a period of political uncertainty after yesterday's snap election left the dominant Liberal Democratic Party unable to form a majority government for the first time since the Second World War. The rare defeat has left Japan's markets unsettled, driving the yen to a 3-month low this morning. The country's new Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has described the results as a serious blow for his party.
There were so many politicians that didn't vote for me in the LDP's leadership election. I became the Prime Minister with a surprise come-from-behind victory at the very end. And I'm in the party where I cannot ignore those who don't agree with what I say. In trying to manage these dynamics, I feel I've lost my sense of self.
Recapping the top story, the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says the party is facing a crisis of authority, legitimacy and trust. He addressed the OR Tambo Memorial Lecture in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg, yesterday. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today, SMS CAR to 43187. Whether you love it or hate it, your older car needs to be insured. Outsurance Essential is insurance designed and priced for older cars. After an accident, claims are paid in cash, so you can choose the panel beater you want to use. And now with motor warranty, you can be covered for mechanical or electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rand. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very heavy on the Mopori Highway, leaving Shoshenguve, Pretoria bound with this multi-vehicle pile-up earlier this morning at Block XX. And what often happens when it is so heavy, motorists move across and jam up the M32 through, that's the Soutpan Road going down through Ondisterpoort. So that's exactly what you've got this morning. 2 very heavy queues, one into the crash and one into some sort of route avoidance detour delays. The N4 into Pretoria stays heavy for motorists going into Hatfield. Pretoria Street between Hatfield and the Botanic Gardens. There's also a truck crash there, causing some quite heavy congestion in the area. You might want to avoid that. Stays really heavy coming in from the south of Joburg, R59 queuing to Michelle Avenue, N12, N3 routes worth avoiding. Big queues up to a crash at Van Buren. A crash on the Mike 1 at Empire Road causing big delays through Crown, and a collision in the Deepcliff interchange, N1 north from the Potch Highway through Deepcliff to Uncle Charlie stays really heavy. If you're avoiding that, there's more traffic on the M1 between Soweto and Gordon Road up in the Ridderport area. Peacevale on your way to Pietermaritzburg. Earlier crash still causing delays, pushing traffic back towards Kia Ridge. M4 M4 inbound on the Southern Freeway, a crash at Clarewood still causing some delays as well. And Cape Town, a very busy Monday. Looks like it's going to take a while for the traffic to clear through. It's particularly heavy on the N1 from Platterkloof Road, the N2 from Langa, M3 from the bottom of Wynberg Hill all the way through to Hospital Bend. Marine Drive still solid from Sunningdale through Sunset Beach. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, we'll start with rugby, where the Bulls' Cameron Hanekom has joined the Boks squad as Damian Willemse is sidelined again. And soccer, Banyana aim to sweep Group A with a Seychelles showdown today, 3 p.m. the kickoff. Details around 8:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 8 on this Monday morning. Good morning, South Africa. It's good to be with you. This is the Morning Brief, and I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. We've lit the fuses on a number of conversations, and those conversations are exploding as we speak. Carbamates, Aldecab, words that some of us did not know about. Certainly, the last 3 days or so, we had never heard of these words. But now it would seem we need to be paying attention to these words. Carbamates being, of course, a class of chemical that is found in pesticides, insecticides, and a particular one that my guest just after 7, Dr. Gerard Verdoren, a toxicologist, that he talked about, Aldecab, and it was quite scary just listening to that conversation. That conversation resonated with me. The words that he used, where he said 20 gram of Aldecab is enough to kill 40 men weighing 80 kilograms each within 20 minutes. How is this substance that was banned years ago, according to Dr. Verdoren, the production stopped in 2012? How is it finding itself into the food value chain in South Africa in 2024? Part of the theory goes then that some of it is brought from across our borders, particularly coming from Zimbabwe, and finding itself within the food value chain in South Africa. So that conversation left me reeling. It says to me, if these are the pesticides that are being suspected of poisoning the food that pupils eat, as a snack, buying from spaza shops and the likes, they really, our kids stood no chance against such chemicals. And of course, we do expect that there'll be a briefing by the minister a bit later on to outline the findings about the availability of these chemicals and how they are contaminating the food value chain. The other conversation that resonated with me was the African National Congress making proposals. They're planning to bring a bill to Parliament in the interests of bringing stability to local governance, such that you don't have the high turnover of mayors, the mayoral chain always shifting from one person to the next in cities such as Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, Tshwane, and others like it, where there are coalition arrangements. Among the proposals will be for those coalition agreements to be binding, almost binding like contracts, but also to have a kind of lock-in period that says once you are in a coalition, stick with it for at least 2 years. I wonder how that will play out in the context of the importance of regular motions of no confidence for accountability, which we were told about years ago. And I suppose you can have that and weigh in on that conversation, and you will also weigh in when that bill perhaps at a later date is brought into circulation for public comment. So those are the two, but let me hear from you what's resonating with you this morning. We have all of your regulars lined up again in this hour, but also I'll be taking your calls, and the numbers for that. The number to dial 086 000 2032. I'll also take your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. This is SAFM, Conversations That Move Us. The third hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Outsurance definitely understands the nature of our business. Being properly insured is extremely important to the success of our business.
They come to the party very quickly, resolve things.
Actions speak much louder than words. Outsurance have shown us Nothing but action.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the Reed dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let's hear what you've had to say this morning. Let's start with this one on the Health Minister.
Morning, SAFM listeners. It's Clement here, in Soweto. I find it very weird for the Minister of Health to only test food samples or whatever that they found in Naledi spaza shops. What about the acha and all sort of fat cakes that are found all over? Some of the learners just went to hospital from KZN for buying an acha. So this is not about a tuck shop. This is about the manufacture of this food, the warehouse, the producer of the food. That's what we must be worried about.
I agree with you there completely, Clement, that it needs to be more comprehensive. We can't be looking at just one aspect, but across the handling of that food, from manufacturing, warehousing, all the way to retail. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Good morning, CFM listeners, and the doctors as well. I want to ask, man, in the hospitalization, when are we going to have doctors that are ready to save people? Because every time you go to the hospital, you've got doctors that are intern, and they are really dealing with real life. When are they going to finish? Because every day we are dying because of the mistakes of the interns doctors that are there doing practicals with our lives. So when are we going to have professional doctors saving us? Anonymous.
All right, thank you for that, Anonymous. An important point about the quality of healthcare that is rendered at public hospitals. And of course, this happening in the context of the National Health Insurance, which is about to be implemented, and the insistence by the department that general practitioners should play a critical role therein.
And the roadworks.
Good morning. I think if we reduce the salaries and perks of mayors and councillors, we will have a more stable local municipalities, because then only those who want to work for this town will take the job.
Yeah, I wonder. That's an interesting take. I don't know. Yeah, you reduce the salaries and you're hoping for stability. The thing is, the instability a lot of the times starts at a political level. So these are the officials, the elected officials, get into coalition agreements. They like each other today. Tomorrow they wake up, they don't like each other. And then there's a motion of no confidence. I wonder how that relates to the issue of pay for officials who work in the local government sphere. I wonder if I have time to take one more, and this one has to do with the proposals that are being put forward by the ANC's Dixon Masemula.
Yes, that I fully concur and support Dixon Masemula's committee in establishing the framework policy that is going to regulate the metros. You see, to get rid of these exercises or monotonous exercises of vote of no confidence in those metros, so that stability and progress must be seen in the municipalities. Thanks, it's Willie in Kuma.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think everyone appreciates what the ANC is seeking to address. You can readily see the impact of the instability at local government level, particularly in the metros. The modalities, though, I wonder to what extent you can make it binding. It's political by nature, right? We agree today, let's form a government and keep these ones out, and we form a government. But, 2 years later, not 2 years even, 8 months later, I don't agree with you, I don't like you anymore, and I want to pull out and expose you, and you are now exposed, and your opponents can move a motion of no confidence. It's all quite tricky. It will take some kind of a balancing act.
Whatever your need for a personal loan, choose a bank that's best for your loans. Nedbank offers loans of up to 400,000 Rand at the best possible fixed interest rates. And there's more. Open a My Goals Plus or My Goals Premium account, and you could enjoy 200 Rand cash back every month for the duration of your loan term. That's up to 14,400 Rand cash back. Visit nedbank.co.za to apply for your tailored personal loan. See money differently. Nedbank. We are a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Did you know the Freight Logistics Roadmap, developed by the Department of Transport in collaboration with Operation Vulindlela and approved by Cabinet in 2023, is a blueprint to tackle the crisis that plagues the logistics sector? It sets out an evidence-based path for reforms to allow economic growth and transformation. It promotes a seamless and cost-effective system, a modernized rail system towards the creation of jobs and effective infrastructure investment in both rail and ports. In cooperation with the National Logistics Crisis Committee, a coherent and integrated response to the logistics crisis is certain.
Brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
Lina Lakake Tlompokekana, I'm from Mamelodi Sundowns captain. I'm a sports analyst, Lago SABC Sport. When I'm home, I try by all means to practice cooking. My favorite home cooked meal, I'll go for pap and masonja because I can prepare that with easy. What do I normally get up to when I get a moment to myself? I would easily, play my guitar. I try to practice a lot of Tracy Chapman. My favorite foreign language is French. Bonjour. So if I didn't play beautiful football, I think I was gonna be a baseball player. What do I like about SABC Sport is the fact that we given an opportunity to educate.
Catch the exciting Diski analysis by Sompo Long Range Kakana on match days live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
The Science of Life on SAFM.
22 minutes after 8, the University of KwaZulu-Natal represented South Africa in the 2024 Global Cybathlon Championship in Switzerland this past weekend. The championship is a prestigious event which is often referred to as the Bionic Olympics. Teams from around the world, including individuals with physical disabilities, compete in various everyday tasks using advanced assistive technologies. For more then, I'm joined by Rian Stopforth, who is a UKZN professor and the lead engineer and academic on this project. Good morning to you, Prof. I've got to thank you for your time. How did it go in Switzerland this past weekend?
So, yeah, this past weekend was very exciting. Switzerland had probably about 60 teams over there. And there were 5 other hubs around the world, which we had one in Durban here in South Africa. And you would find probably about 10 teams were participating at these hubs around the world. It was a very intense time. We had people coming, people sort of thinking that the prosthetic devices would, or assistant devices were able to assist them because Cybathlon, it's not just arm prosthesis, it's leg prosthesis, it's wheelchairs, it's mind sort of control things, activities that they've got. There's different disciplines in terms of, how to go and have with a robotic hand that will be able to go and do daily tasks, and, how a person can control it, how they can even get their legs to move to be able to do cycling. So looking at people with disabilities, trying to find ways to improve it. And yes, it's, so we had the touchdown team from South Africa that participated. It was a nervous time for our team. Our amputee, who's also known as the pilot of the competition, he started off quite well, did the first 3 tasks exceptionally well. And then when the time obviously ran out, we've got 8 minutes to do 10 tasks. And these are tasks, this 8 minutes to do the 10 tasks was not even be really easy for you and me to do with no disabilities. And so, he did well. He got 30 points in the first round. Then we went for the second qualifying round. Over there, unfortunately, we thought, well, we're going to try and push the limits and see if we can't speed it up a little bit and get more tasks to be done. And, usually that is not a good thing with a competition like this. You've got to actually take your time.
So, Prof, just give me a sense of these tasks that needed to be completed within 8 minutes as part of this competition with bionic assistive devices. What are these tasks, and how do they translate the technology to usability by people with disabilities, for example?
Okay, so the tasks that we had to do were daily living activities. So it was, for example, you'll start off with packing bottles into a crate that has to be moved and somewhere else and packed onto a table. There was a casserole that had to be taken out of a stove, a frying pan that had to be moved across, and this casserole and frying pan had balls inside of it, which created quite a bit of weight and shifted the weight across the item as they were rolling. There were things such as doing the dishes and packing the dishes into the trays, being able to move your cutlery and things, and as well as your plates and cups. There's laundry tasks in terms of hanging up your laundry. There's even some games in terms of stacking up your cups into a triangular shape, and what the kids are also playing with. The hot wire game that you've got with the hoop going around the wire, that you aren't allowed to touch, the hoop's not allowed to touch the wire. Things like inserting a key, putting in your ATM card. It's sort of, there's that eye-hand coordination that one needs to then be able to do. And so all these tasks are focusing on functionality of the prosthesis rather than the appearance and looks of the prosthesis.
In fact, that's the second part of my question. What do these tasks and the competitiveness that was there over the weekend, what do they reveal about advancements in assistive living, assistive technology, and how it's solving problems, for people who use prosthetic devices?
Yeah, so the problem is that a lot of amputees have been telling us that they get these prosthetic devices and they start trying to use it, but it's not able to grip around objects, not able to do your daily tasks. And so the people would go and, after spending hundreds and thousands of rands on these devices, they'll stick it inside the cupboards and they'll never look at it again. And so that has been the challenge with the Cybathlon. It sort of gives that benchmark and comparison of different devices. Commercial devices were participating in this event. Research devices were participating in this event. And you could actually see that sometimes the research devices are better than the commercial ones. Sometimes the commercial ones did even better than the research ones. But take into account, obviously, they've got millions of rands that they can do the research while we've got very limited budgets. So it was a good comparison for us to do. And we as a team came 10th out of 16 teams around the world, which makes us feel, it's not like it's also very difficult to also say, well, that the other teams, if their devices not working as great and stuff. It doesn't mean that necessarily, but it does mean that we're not lost. Yeah. We're able to say that South Africa, has got good technology, good Absolutely. Research, and is able to do something to help people.
Well done there. Lastly, Prof, I think you touched on it when we started the conversation, the advancements towards getting that link between the, robotic prosthetic device assistive technology with the mind and mind control and the, the being able to control it with your senses. How far are we with that, with that kind of research?
Well, we've been created in such a unique way that there's no way we can duplicate a human hand, and in terms of the touch, feeling, and anything like that. But we can try and at least attempt to help the people that have got or that have lost their hand. So we have found over the years that it's difficult to reach that. We're trying to work on the functionality. Our specific prosthetic arm, the touch hand that we've created, has got EMG electrodes. It's able to detect the signals from the muscles on the arm with the gestures that the amputee would have for the thumb. We're able to decode that signals with machine learning, and then the electronics goes and interprets those signals. It goes and senses different signals to the motors and makes the hand to be controlled.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. Fascinating discussion. Professor Rian Stopforth, UKZN professor and the lead engineer and academic on, South Africa's participation at the Cybathlon, which happened over the weekend in Switzerland. Let's check in now with Ann Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, 3 people, all in their 20s, have been shot and killed in Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats last night. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says the party is facing a crisis of authority, legitimacy and trust. He delivered the Oliver Tambo Memorial Lecture yesterday in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. And the Ezimvelo KZN Wildlife says it's urgently seeking a permanent solution to deal with 30 elephants that escaped from a private game reserve and caused alarm in KwaXeza, KwaZulu-Natal, prompting some families to flee their homes. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very busy coming out of Shoshanguve today on the R80, a big multi-vehicle pile-up earlier this morning at X-Exit. We've been detailing. Motorists complaining about over an hour's worth of delay getting through that a little bit earlier. Still really bad. And you got the big sort of knock-on effect of the M35 Soutpan Road running through Ondersteport being heavy. A lot of motorists diverting over. When that road gets busy, you can tell how bad it is on the R80. So you've got 2 routes coming in from Shosha, and both of those are jam-packed. Talking of jam-packed, avoid this one if you're trying to get to work on time, trying to get somewhere without traffic hassles, or particularly getting up to the airport from the south of Joburg's crash at Van Buren, plus a breakdown, plus the roadworks. Full house thrown at Van Buren this morning. You got the queue that starts right back on the R59 north as you enter the tunnel at Reading Interchange on the N12. From there, right through Ilan's past Cement Factory up towards Van Buren. It's a disaster. The N3 from Grey Avenue side backed up heavily as well. Durban, the earlier crash on the M4 Southern Freeway pretty much out of the way. Traffic is moving again. Major delays if you're on your way to Pietermaritzburg. A crash at Peacevale, also a multi-vehicle pileup. Very heavy, almost back as far as Shongweni. And the M13 from Hillcrest to get onto that N3 Pietermaritzburg also badly backed up. And then Cape Town, a crash on the N1 into town before Sable Road. That's pushing traffic back towards Plattercliff Road. Once you get past that, you stay in very heavy N1 traffic all the way over to town and the elevated freeway. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Sure. Good morning again, Zai. Damien Willemse can't travel to the UK. Enter Cameron Hanekom.
I know. It looks like this is the Bulls' secret weapon that maybe Rassie Erasmus knows something about, that Hanekom will be able to deliver in this green and gold. But really bad luck for Damien Willemse.
Absolutely.
Again, that feels a little bit like deja vu. He's been sidelined, a groin injury. Willemse is a fan favourite and the first choice fullback, but he has missed all 10 test matches this season, and there's a silver lining for the Bulls fans. The young loose forward Cameron Hanekom has earned his first call-up to the squad, stepping in for Willemse. Coach Rassie Erasmus aiming for a clean sweep in this tour. The fixtures will be against Scotland, England and Wales, and Hanekom's debut could come against Wales, giving him a chance to prove himself on the big stage. Now, soccer, our very own Banyana's youth squad on a winning streak. They've secured back-to-back victories in the Hollywood Bets COSAFA Women's Championship. They had an impressive 3-0 win over Eswatini on Friday. The Young Stars, they top Group A with 6 points and are ready to take on Seychelles in their final group match today. And the senior Banyana squad, they're in England, preparing to face the Lionesses tomorrow after their tough 5-0 loss to Denmark on Friday. Now, Bafana's own Ronwen Williams is shining on the world stage, heading to the Ballon d'Or ceremony in Paris tonight. Williams is nominated for the Yashin Trophy, awarded to the world's top goal scorer after a stellar year with Mamelodi Sundowns, and Bafana is also leading the fan vote line, but the final call rests with an international panel of journalists. And if that's not all for Ronwen, he's also up for 3 major awards at the upcoming CAF Awards, including the African Player of the Year. So a huge moment for South African football. Now, Mamelodi Sundowns coach Manqoba Niti admitted that his Chargers were below par as they suffered their first defeat in the Betway Premiership away match to Polokwane City. While the defending champions failed to even get a shot on target, the hosts grabbed what became the winning goal through defender and captain Bulelani Nkani to stun the Brazilians. The Downs mentor gave credit where it's due, arguing City were the better side.
I just think the speed of the game was also very slow. We did not play the way one would have loved us to play, where we move the ball a little bit faster and give ourselves a chance to dominate the match and shift a team that works very hard, because we must give them credit. They are a team that works very hard. Even if you've got moments to get behind them, if you are not fast enough, by the time you try to play the ball inside, everybody else is behind the ball. They are only left with Chauge, maybe, and Apolis up front. We should congratulate them. I think they played well, and I think they deserve to win the match.
On to cricket. Proteas all-rounder Vian Mulder opening about his marked improvements since returning to international cricket. He first moved onto the scene as a teenager back in 2017. Since then, the 26-year-old has managed 15 tests, 20 one-day internationals and 11 T20 internationals. Now, he has registered a 4 for 62 with the ball and a maiden test half-century with the bat in the recent victory over Bangladesh in Dhaka. He has shed light now on his initial struggles.
I think to put it, the basics are I had to work on a lot of mental stuff. I found when I started at international cricket, I was really young and naive and didn't really understand quite what I'm getting myself into, really, and I couldn't really deal with the pressures, I'd say.
That's a wrap of your sport on the morning brief. There's more for you on SFM around 12:30 with John Herika. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again, Dowling. So the NHI process continues and it surges ahead despite the controversies and the contention across various quarters. What is DISCAM saying about how the NHI should play itself out?
So DISCAM, just one of the many private sector players, Thulas, just encouraging collaboration when it comes to the NHI, especially as it faces so much pushback. According to CEO Roy Morais, the private sector has already invested in underutilized hospitals and clinics that can provide affordable care to state patients. He says the goal is to create a collaborative model that brings together healthcare professionals and services across different regions, focusing on primary healthcare. Now, this includes clinics and dispensaries, which are usually the first point of contact for patients seeking healthcare. Morais has emphasized that effective fund administration is crucial, and DISCAM's medical insurance business can support the government in this area. DISCAM says it has the expertise and administrative capability to support the NHI. Their medical insurance products are designed to provide daily primary healthcare services, which it says aligns with the NHI's objectives. Now, this is part of DISCAM's broader ambition to offer integrated healthcare to South Africans, which it says will improve access to affordable and quality healthcare. Now, the comments come alongside its interim earnings report, where turnover rose 9.6%, while earnings jumped 16%. That's as it managed to contain payroll costs and as its ongoing expansion strategy continues to pay off.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. In fact, I think a lot of what is being said by DISCAM aligns with what the minister is actually saying in an interview that we will be playing in the next few minutes. Sun International wants to buy Piermont, but the Competition Commission is not so keen on the deal. Why?
That's right. The Competition Commission pouring cold water on Sun International's plans to acquire Emperor's Palace owner Piermont. Now, the deal with 7.3 billion rand was announced late last year, and the hotel and gaming group was hoping to get the deal across the finishing line by the first quarter of 2025. So, Sun International had proposed a total takeover of Piermont, and the regulator says this move would lessen competition in the space. In a statement, the Compcom said that the proposed tie-up would lessen market competition, particularly in central Gauteng. The Compcom says the merger changes the structure of the national market by reducing the number of national casino operators from 3 to 2. Now, post the merger, 92% of the casinos operating in South Africa would be owned by only two firms, namely Tsogosan as well as Sun International. This just further increasing concentration in an already highly concentrated market. It further said that this move may limit new entry into the market due to the limited availability of casino licenses. In addition, the merger will result in Sun International owning and operating a number of casinos located in prime locations, which will give it an advantage over its competitors. Now, although the Competition Commission rejected the acquisition, Sun International says it will review the report and evaluate next steps. So all is not lost, as the company remains hopeful that the Competition Tribunal will approve the transaction.
Sure, fascinating to watch. Lastly, Dowling, with about 19 minutes to go before trading resumes at the JSE, what kind of a day are we looking at here at home and elsewhere in the world?
So local markets are in for a positive start to the week following global peers. In terms of local news, all eyes are on Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana as he prepares to deliver the midterm budget on Wednesday. In company news, Pick n Pay out with earnings this morning. Traders looking out for any signs of progress when it comes to that company's turnaround strategy. Over in currency markets, the rand starting the week on the back foot, trading above the 17.70 mark to the dollar. This as investors assess risks associated with that upcoming budget, as well as risks associated with the US election. Looking at Wall Street, futures are in positive territory, recovering from Friday's tepid close. tech stocks are in focus on that front, as Alphabet and Amazon are set to release third quarter earnings reports later this week. And then in Asia, markets are on track to end the day in the green, as it seems like overall market sentiment is improving this morning on that front.
Right, Ntaoleng, have yourself a great day. Thank you for today. That's Ntaoleng Lichela watching business, economics, as well as markets from here at home and around the world over the last 3 hours here on The Morning Brief.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Did you know, since its establishment in 1998, SANRAL expanded its national road network from 6,700 to 24,160 kilometers during the 25 years. Towards more efficient and safer roads, we are addressing pothole challenges on our provincial and municipal road network through Operation Vala Zonke, a pothole repair program. This work is done in partnership with provincial and local government. In the 2023-2024 financial year only, 9,392 potholes have been fixed. Through the Provincial Road Maintenance Grant, the department has transferred approximately 106.4 billion rand, 106.4 billion rand to the 9 provinces over a 10-year period for road quality improvements. Doing more together, building better infrastructure and delivering efficient service through collaboration. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
To this now, addressing delegates at the Kgalema Motlanthe Foundation's Inclusive Growth Dialogue over the weekend, Minister Aaron Motsoaledi said the real war around the NHI, National Health Insurance, is not about the desirability or otherwise of universal health care, but rather about vested interests and the mega profits that private healthcare businesses have amassed from a system he says is characterized by anomalies. He says South Africa and the United States lead in going against a global trend of healthcare being funded through mandatory prepayment systems such as the NHI, as opposed to the system being dominated by voluntary prepayment such as private medical aids. I had a conversation with Minister Motsoaledi, and he says he is therefore not surprised at the looming litigation.
No, we've always been knowing. When we were handling the two, we knew that some more are coming. And people were telling so. For instance, we know, as I'm sitting here, I can tell you with my eyes closed, we're expecting one from the DA. And we know it is in the making, you know. But the others have always been threatening. You might had forgotten. Quite a number of groups were threatening. And so they are coming in. So it's not something that is surprising us. We're expecting those court cases.
What is the common thread among the court challenges that are either locked and loaded or looming?
Well, they differ. People have got different interests, remember. Each one is looking at something which they believe is against their interest, and they litigate on that. So they are not necessarily 100% the same. But the general thrust is that the NHI is unconstitutional, it's going to collapse the economy, etc., etc.
So let's go through the possibilities then, Minister, you and I. The first critique that you often hear says that it's not been costed. The NHI implementation has not been costed. You were unequivocal in your response to that, and in fact you did not hold back at the dialogue among equals at the Kgalema Motlanthe dialogue. What in essence is your response to that?
Well, look, you heard what I said, and this is a lifelong program. It's forever. It's not for a particular period. It's forever. It's as long as human beings exist in South Africa, we are envisaging that universal health coverage will be there. That's exactly what the World Health Organization and United Nations was willing for the human population. So programs that are forever, how do you cost them? Now we have got private healthcare and medical schemes. The first ever policies of medical schemes started in 1967. Can you show me the costing? Who sat down and say we are costing this whole thing? And Thulasizwe, when we started our democracy, if somebody said no, but democracy is going to be very expensive, please cost it, where were you going to start? The other example I can give you, as I was showing you, we dramatically reduced maternal mortality because in 2010 we took a decision to come up with the world's biggest HIV counseling and testing and treatment campaign. During that time, people were asking us, where are you going to get the money from? Do you have the money? And I refused to answer that question. I said, when people are dying, you don't ask such questions. When we started with 3.5 billion. Today, it is 24 billion from our fiscals, 8 billion from PEPFAR, American funder, 10 billion every 3 years from Global Fund. When you count all that, it comes to something like 40 billion. Can you imagine in 2010 if I said we're starting a program and it's going to cost 40 billion and going on and on? We will not have told the truth because I will tell you why. We started with 3.5 billion. 2 years later, we dramatically reduced by negotiation the price of ARVs by using economies of scale.
Yeah.
And then we brought them down by 50%, by the way, 50%, which means if 2 years earlier would have costed, it would have been off the mark. So the issue of costing what healthcare will cost for the rest of our lives is something that nobody has done. Yeah. Even countries that has got this, what you cost is what you want to do that particular that particular period, and say over the next period and will cost it when you are ready to implement it. In other words, you cost what you are ready to implement at that time.
Then all right, that was the conversation I had during the weekend there with the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, basically adamant that the National Health Insurance will proceed, and saying that the real battle is not about the desirability or otherwise, but a system that is characterized by anomalies that has seen some in the private healthcare sector amassing mega profits.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Mopani Highway coming to Victoria has cleared. A big crash earlier this morning at XX is finally out of the way and the backlog has got through. It will take a little while for the M35 Sudpan Road to clear up. A lot of traffic going that way to avoid the earlier problems on the R80. That run into Onderstepoort stays busy. Crash scenes going north in Joburg on the N3 at Van Buren, and that's still really heavy. The backlog there right back to Reading interchange on the N12 deep in Alberton. There's now been a crash at the Crown. So the Mike 1 north from Boyson's Gold Reef City getting all very busy again. If you're on your way out of Durban up towards Pietermaritzburg, an earlier crash at Peacevale causing a major delay. Traffic's all the way back almost to Shongweni. So Shongweni exit, once you get past that Cassia Road off-ramp, you're in the thick of it up through the Key Ridge area and get Cliffdale on your way towards Peacevale. It's very heavily back through there. The M4 Southern Freeway, earlier crash at Rossborough, that is now cleared. Cape Town, the N1 staying busy with a crash inbound before Sable Road. So if you're just coming in from Belleville-Brackenfell, you'll pick up some queues at around Plattercliff Road. Very slow to that one. The N2 stays busy from Langa through Hospital Bend. Also Marine Drive is eased coming out of Tableview, but there's still some pressure through Parton Island as you line up down towards the N1 highway. And the Komiki Road out of Komiki, passing Masipumalela as you head towards Sun Valley. There's still quite a backlog of traffic moving slowly there as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
We are a different kind of airline. One that's made travel affordable so everyone can fly. One that expands our routes to suit your needs. One that gets you there on time, more of the time, and who measures success in the smiles of our passengers. You could say, we do things differently. We say, we do things with heart, because without our heart, we'd be just another airline. Fly Safair, for the love of flying.
Did you know October marks the 19th anniversary of Transport Month? A vital initiative by the national and provincial departments of transport. This year's campaign highlights the progress being made to build better infrastructure, create jobs, and boost an inclusive, sustainable economy, all while enhancing service delivery.
Doing more together, building better infrastructure, and delivering efficient service through collaboration. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
Almost everywhere we go, there's a queue.
You are partly right. However, there's absolutely no queue for downloading your SABC Plus app. All you have to do is go to your Play Store or iStore on your mobile gadget. Search for the SABC Plus app and download it now to enjoy a massive variety of entertainment on your screen, such as
The Betway Premiership,
AFCON qualifiers,
COSAFA competitions,
Premier League,
Bundesliga,
Hollywood Best Super League, Ghosts Like Us, Final Analysis, and many more.
Share Shapela. Download your SABC Plus app right away.
Catch SABC Sport action on SABC Plus everywhere for everyone, always.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Svali Weekend on a high note with Final Analysis on Sunday night. Tune in to Final Analysis every Sunday night and stand a chance to win a hamper worth 10,000 Rand, courtesy of Diadora and SABC Sport. Final Analysis, the premium wrap-up show, giving you match highlights, final scores, post-game reactions, expert analysis, and sport news weekend roundup of the local and international arena. Catch Final Analysis every Sunday at 8 p.m. on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and 10 p.m. on SABC 3. Also, available everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag, we've got it all. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Yeah, let's close off with some of your calls. Let's start with Mike. Mike, you want to talk to me about the NHI. Good morning to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking my call. As I said some time ago, that I'm very nervous about how the monies of this huge, very huge project that is almost 30 years in arrears is going to be implemented, monitored, evaluated, and enforced. You see, I can assure you, those who are in power has already queued, standing in the queue longer than the queue of the 1994 elections, waiting how much they're going to get as kickbacks. You remember the 500 million rand of the COVID-19 got missing within no time, and the thieves are still roaming the corridors of our power, roaming the corridors of place of authority. And I'm afraid that money might end up in the hands of people that will steal it and get away with it. But the project, I'm for it.
All right. Thank you for that, Mike. Concerned there about how the fund itself will be managed, as well-intentioned as it may be. Mike, they're expressing the concern that it might be actually misappropriated in its management. Ndlovu, in the Eastern Cape, you want to talk to me about marathons and sponsorship. What about marathons and sponsorship? I've not been running much, so I don't know anything about that.
Hey, Thulas.
Yeah.
Good morning, and the listeners. I'm phoning Thulas because of a concern about what is going on in the marathons that are organized by the municipalities together with the Department of Sports in the regions around here. I'm in the Afrenzo region. Yesterday there was a marathon. It's called Umzila Gatambo. Now, what we've noted, Thulas, as runners over the years, in fact, that this marathon is not about sport development. It's actually about the spoils of procurement. You can see that even the packs that are organized, even the medals, even it's very low quality things. They are not there to encourage people to run.
Yeah.
But it's about who gets what during the procurement process, including the municipality here, which is the marathon is held in Bizana. It's the Winima Dixon Mandela municipality. And surprisingly, it's organized in conjunction with the Department of Sports in this region. So the concern amongst you will see, Thulas, that runners are losing interest in that particular marathon because of the way in which it is organized. It is in shambles. It is in shambles. Runners are not going there anymore.
Sure.
It's even better to go to the marathons that are organized by clubs. For instance, there will be a marathon in Mthatha, Cheetahs Marathon, which is organized by the Cheetahs Club of Mthatha. That one is much better than this one.
All right.
And
so in essence, Ndlovu, we should be paying attention where these marathons are sponsored by government entities and organs of state to ensure that there's no creeping in of some of these issues around procurement of goods and services in the name of organizing a marathon. That's Ndlovu in the Eastern Cape there. Let me take a call from Magdalene. Good morning to you, Magdalene. I believe you were with me at the Kgalema Motlanthe Inclusive Growth Dialogue this weekend.
Not that one.
Which one?
I was with the Deputy Minister of Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. The Deputy Minister, who is Bernice Swartz.
Yes. Tell me about it.
From the 23rd until the 25th. We left Saturday. Point is, it was so nice. It was so beautiful. And the speech was very much encouraging. But things got sour when we came back on the 25th and say, thank you, the Deputy Minister. You gave us courage and information. Now we are taking it back to you. We are giving you responsibility and accountability as the Deputy Minister, because you are in the national office, in the parliament, whereby the decisions are taken. From what we are challenged with, we are saying to you, we the women who are coming from different provinces, others have got land and have got trees of whatever they only need machineries. We only need machineries. We need equipment. We need buildings, so that we explore in whatever that we want to challenge this climate change with.
All right, Magdalene there in Bloemfontein weighing in about interactions with the Deputy Minister there that have to do with the empowerment of women, from what I understand Magdalene to be talking about. And that's how we come to 9 a.m. Thank you for listening, and thanks to the team that put it all together. The Talking Point with Kethi Motlatlana is up next here on SAFM, and that's coming up after the news. Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
In our top stories, 3 people shot and killed in Khayelitsha, and SA Tomorrow Investor Conference kicks off in New York. Good morning. 3 people, all in their 20s, have been shot and killed in Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats last night. Police spokesperson Andre Trout says the Provincial Serious and Violent Crimes Unit are searching for those responsible for the triple murder. Trout says the motive has not been established yet.
On Sunday evening at around 20:20, police responded to a murder complaint and discovered the body of a 26-year-old male in a passage in Island Site C Khayelitsha with a gunshot wound. The bodies of 2 females, also in their 20s and both with gunshot wounds, were discovered in a shack not far from the first scene. The motive for the murders is yet to be determined. Any person who can shed light on the circumstances of the matter or who can identify the suspects is kindly requested to contact Crime Stop.
ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says the party is facing a crisis of authority, legitimacy and trust. Ramaphosa says this has been evident in the party's electoral decline at the 29 May polls, where the ANC lost its majority for the first time in 30 years. He delivered the Oliver Tambo Memorial Lecture yesterday in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. Ramaphosa says it's only the ANC that has brought fundamental change to the lives of South Africans in the last 30 years, even though some sectors have written it off.
We've heard about the ANC now joining the pantheon of national liberation movements that have, in quotes, failed in governance. All this said of an ANC that over the past 30 years has brought about deep, fundamental and lasting change to the lives of millions of South Africans.
Mogale City residents on Gauteng's West Rand have pleaded with the newly appointed ANC Mayor Lakisele to urgently address service delivery issues. Residents' complaints in Kagiso includes youth unemployment, electricity, quality of water and sewage flowing onto the streets. Residents are also concerned about the service delivery that they say is selectively rendered in Mogale City. Residents had this to say.
We have a water problem, especially in our area, Ward 8. We can spend 3 days without water. What's worse is that in some areas, they get water tankers.
The water quality is not up to standard. That results in people falling sick. Let that alone, our kids have completed their studies, yet can't find jobs.
Meanwhile, Mogale City's newly appointed Mayor Lakisele says he's aware of the challenges and is working tirelessly to improve the state of his municipality.
We're looking at the situation where we increase capacity of our water tankers. We've had a situation before where we've had contracted water tankers, and those contracted water tankers cost the municipality over 350 million. And that's money that can be used to service our people in Mogale City.
Ezimvelo KZN Wildlife says it's urgently seeking a permanent solution to deal with 30 elephants that escaped from a private game reserve and caused alarm in Kwaqeza, prompting some families to flee their homes. The organization has now sought assistance from NGOs and the public to develop non-lethal methods to manage the roaming elephants. The head of Conservation Operations, Vuhiswa Khadebe.
We are looking for a solution now. For us, if the animal has escaped and the animal is causing threats to human lives, the first thing that we do is to put it down. So unfortunately, that is the only solution that we have right now, is to put them down.
And finally, the 2-day South Africa Tomorrow Investment Conference kicks off in New York later today in collaboration between business and government. The conference is billed as an opportunity to showcase South African institutions and listed companies to the U.S. investor community while offering insights into investor potential. Shawan Bryce-Peace reports that according to the hosts, which include Standard Bank, Old Mutual, UBS and the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the conference has attracted considerable interest driven by the formation of the new government of national unity and the influence it will have on policy and fiscal management moving forward.
Investors, policymakers and business leaders will gather in the Big Apple under the theme Advancing South Africa's Structural Reforms for Infrastructure Development, with speakers expected to unpack the country's monetary and fiscal policy, infrastructure investment plans, progress on critical reforms, particularly in the energy and logistics space, and address the outlook for the Government of National Unity. Key participants will include the Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago, Minister of Electricity and Energy Josiensho Ramakgopa, and Minister of Agriculture John Steenhuisen, among other cabinet officials, while the CEOs of 19 listed companies will also be in attendance, with a video message from President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Recapping the top story, 3 people, all in their 20s, have been shot and killed in Khayelitsha on the Cape Flats last night. For SAFM News, I'm Anne Musa.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today. SMS card to 43187.
Real savings, real benefits. Here's what real clients say about Outsurance.
My name is Alan. I'm 71 years of age and I live in Douglasdale. I'm paying 554 Rand a month for my 2022 Nissan Magnite.
Want a car insurance premium that'll blow your mind? SMS out to 30754 now for a quote. It's quick, it's easy, and it could save you hundreds of rands every month. Here's Amy.
To anyone who has not reached out to Outsurance, what are you doing? Reach out today.
Blow your mind, not your paycheck. SMS out to 30754 and see for yourself why Outsurance was voted Best Car Insurer 2023 by the Star and Pretoria newsreaders. Here's Yusuf.
It just shows that Outsurance is top of the tops when it comes to insurers.
SMS out to 30754 now. That's out to 30754. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and limits apply. Premiums are risk profile dependent and reviewed annually. Client comments do not constitute financial advice.
Hey there. Need to know your TV license balance but don't want to wait? No sweat. Just send a quick SMS with your ID or TV license number to 44210. Remember, standard SMS rates apply. And presto, your balance pops right up anytime, anywhere. It's as easy as pie. So why procrastinate? Give it a try and get your info in a flash. T's and C's apply.
The reality is that 90% of South Africans don't save enough for retirement. This National Seniors Month, why not be part of the 10% who do? Choose an interest rate of up to 11.7% after 60 months with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Anyone 55 and over can open one on the Money app in less than 2 minutes. Go to nedbank.co.za for more info. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Show your older car and your wallet some love with Outsurance Essential. Outsurance Essential is insurance for older cars. Get up to 1 million rand liability cover. That means if you cause an accident, the other car could be covered for up to 1 million rand. And what better than the damage to your vehicle being paid out in cash? Enjoy this and loads more great benefits at a low price. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rand. SMS car to 43187. That's car to 43187 today. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's and information online.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Stay true to your passion. Know what you know what you don't know. Be open to learn, because every day we learn. As much as we are knowledgeable in our space, but never ever assume that you know everything. Because the minute you do, you develop this arrogance about you, and it will affect the way you deal with other people and how much success you can get, because whenever you interact with people and they pick up that you're arrogant, you already create a wall and it impacts on how productive or effective you will be. But the minute you accept, be confident but tone down on the arrogance, know what you know and know what you don't know and be open to learn. We all need to pull together. We need to really make sure that we're really behind each other, call on all the troops, and make sure that the legacy that we leave behind for our kids is something that we'll be proud of. They always say that, a Chinese saying that I always point to is that they say, if you want to learn about our history, look at our current conditions. But if you want to learn about our future, look at our current actions. What are we doing to make sure that we have a different outcome in terms of a different legacy that we want to leave behind for our kids? It should not be a legacy of poverty. It should not be a legacy of fighting. It should not be a legacy of peril. And therefore, what is it that we're required to be doing? In our own little communities, in our own little businesses, how are we making sure that we are changing people's lives? Education is such a liberator. So educate. Creating those jobs is very important, but we cannot do it alone. Everybody has to pull together.
That is Chichi Maponya, a businesswoman and MD of the Maponya Group. Welcome to The Talking Point, a brand new week as we lead the conversation together. I'm Kathy Motlatlana, and great to be in your company as always. Of course, we'll be together until midday. Coming up on the show, we've got, lots that we have planned for you in terms of our programming. It is somewhat of a busy morning because we are keeping a close eye on a briefing that we are expecting from the Minister of Health and the Minister of Police. They're going to be giving us an update in terms of the Nat Joins operations. This is in as far as it concerns the investigations into the poisoning in Naledi of the youngsters there, following the outcome then of the reports and the poisoning that has now been confirmed. But we will also then be getting a sense from them about what the future is in as far as ensuring that foodstuffs that are sold within our communities are actually going to be safer. So both those ministers are expected to brief us this morning. That briefing could start any time. We will bring part of it live here on the station. And the reason also is because this has been such a big talking point for us over the last couple of weeks. And there have been ongoing calls from you, the listeners, including from us, some presenters I know. We've been very vocal about the fact that we do need to see stronger measures by the government in planning on how exactly we are going to curb the high incidence rate when it comes to these poisonings that we have recorded. So we'll take you live to that briefing as soon as it gets underway. It doesn't, however, mean we won't have an open line. So we'll begin with the open line. I see some of you have already started to call in. Bongani in East London, let me confirm you are the first caller for today. So don't go anywhere. I'm going to come to you now, Bongani. I'll come to you shortly. But of course, I will be taking your calls on 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032 on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. That's 0614 104 107. So coming up on the show in the second hour, we're going to be unpacking then the latest reports following the ANC's NEC meeting and a confidential document that has now been widely reported on that was the topic of the NEC's discussion that, of course, highlights some of the reflections that the party has been doing and how it's experiencing difficulties in terms of its renewal project. And it touches on a number of facets, including, the high level of factionalism in the organization, dishonesty, distrust among the members of the party, leaders that are struggling to disassociate themselves with those that have been accused of wrongdoing. This report also puts at 200 the number of ANC members that have been implicated in the state capture report. So these are very serious issues that, again, many South Africans are talking about on a day-to-day basis because we live with the impact of what it does in terms of our ability to access services, in the functioning of government departments, etc. So we'll look at that conversation in the second hour of the show and unpack part of what has emerged following that NEC meeting. And then the final hour of the show for those that are landlords and also those that are renting property, an important conversation to be mindful of, which is around rentals. And it shows that the rental escalations, which is really the increase in rentals on a year-on-year basis, is slowing down, and many landlords are being cautioned when it comes to increasing their rental prices, because many consumers, even though 83% of those who rent properties are paying on time, there is a warning that if rental prices increase much more than they currently are, it will put consumers under even more pressure. So then run the risk of defaults in as far as that income, that rental income is concerned. We'll look at that with our guests. Some will be from TPN, the Credit Bureau, that have released the latest data, and then we'll also be in conversation with some other property experts who will help us understand what exactly is happening in the sector. So that's what's coming up on the show over the next 3 hours. Like I said, I'll be taking your calls on 086 000 2032, on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. It is your national roundtable. You get to lead the conversation.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
16 teams of Mzansi Africa's Elite League are back to the battlefield. Ngamandla masha. They all believe ukuthi kuzoba right, kube bright, as they navigate the path to the final. This is the second edition of the Carlin Knockout Cup. Fakugesi. Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Ibola laseMzansi. The Carlin Knockout Cup, live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
I joined EFF because I could relate to the 7 cardinal pillars. I joined EFF because our people are landless, and EFF is saying they would make sure that they expropriate the land without compensation.
The girl is mine. The doggone girl is mine.
I joined Umkhonto Wesizwe because I felt that it's the home which understands the persecution of the black people, the oppression, the challenges which we are facing. I could relate with the constitution of Umkhonto Wesizwe.
Really just a waste of time because she's mine.
Well, another day, another moment of politics, shall we say. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone. Let me go to Bongani in East London. Good morning, Bongani.
Yeah, this is Kunjani.
Ngiyaphila kunjani.
Sharp, my sister. You know what? You're supposed to be a pastor or a preacher.
Why?
One of the two. You can talk and I listen to you. Very careful. Yeah. Kathy?
Yes.
My sister, you know what? I'm not a racist, you know? But sometimes I just feel bad. You know, there are these guys, I'm sorry to say, I'm driving in East London. These white guys, I'm sorry to say that, we are driving big buggies. And then if the robots are on amber, they will put a hooter on you as if you don't know how to drive. Then we have to pressure ourselves, and then they're always on rush. I don't know what is happening. My sister, if you want to be early to work, wake up early. Can you hear me?
I'm listening to you, Bongani. I'm giving you a moment to air your frustration, because I can hear this is something you're quite upset about.
My sister, I'm very upset. These guys, I really don't understand. Maybe this is happening only in East London, but these guys with big buggies, white guys, they are always on rush, whatever. It's either in the afternoon or in the morning, but they will put beep, beep. The robots are on amber. I don't have to jump the robots. I don't have to. As if these guys, they went to a different driving school. No, these guys, no, my sister, I'm not happy. These guys, no, I'm not happy.
You know, Bongani, I think that probably many of us who who are drivers would have had similar experiences, but I don't know if East London has its own particular nuance. But I would say that one experiences that kind of behavior from drivers across the racial divide, hey? Whether black, white, Indian, it's just bad driving. And I don't know, but I've gotten a sense that our driving as South Africans is becoming worse. People think a red traffic light is a suggestion to stop. They don't see it as no, you must stop.
You have to stop and wait robots to get green and then move forward. Exactly.
More and more I see people treating a red traffic light as a yield sign.
Why?
It's not a yield sign. It's a stop.
You know what? I went to a driving school. I passed my driver license in 2006. But what I'm trying to say, these guys, they are driving as if they went to a different driving school. You get my point?
I hear you, Bongani. Apologies that you have to experience that. Yeah.
Thanks very much. Enjoy your day. Thanks very much. I love you, sister. Sure.
All right, Bongani out in East London. I can share his frustration, absolutely. And I do think that our driving is getting worse. But then when you hear the corruption that's happening at our licensing centers, etc., we probably shouldn't be surprised. Ngonde, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
Kathy.
Yes.
Missing you. Long time, long hear from you.
Okay. Hello, Ngonde.
I was listening to you, in your show, and there were two guys that were in the studio. Mm-hmm. And apparently, they obviously don't know you, that you are what I call a silent assassin. And these guys were trying to shout, I remember Bishop Tutu,
yes,
may his soul rest in peace, saying, you must not shout, but sharpen the argument. And these guys obviously didn't hear that. Anyway, what I want to talk about is probably a prelude to what we'll be discussing in the second hour. I'll just give you bones, and then I want more meat in your discussion about the same topic.
Go ahead, sir.
What they are discussing in Boksburg at the moment is apparently a renewal of the ANC. More specifically, they want political education in all the branches or all the members of the ANC, right? And I remember one professor, I'm not sure if I might mention his name, but it's a professor of politics at Nelson Mandela University. He says, Politics 101 informs you that you must have political education and political propaganda and political agitation, right? Those three elements will make you well equipped to be a politician, right? So basically, all members of the ANC, must have that basic understanding, I remember, Katie, in 1980 when I came from the USA, having done my grade 12, I brought a book that I knew it was banned in the country. It could have given me 5 years in jail. It was a big book by Steve Biko. I write what I like. That book was banned in South Africa. That book, Kathy, I called 6 of my friends, that I've got this book, guys, and I want each guy to read this book for about a week. After we are all done, and then we get together and discuss this book, Unfortunately, Katie, I can't mention the name of the guy, my friend, he never returned it, right? But what he did, after he was fully infused by that book, what was in there, he then left for exile because he must have been agitated politically.
So basically, Ngonde, you're saying that there needs to be a higher level of consciousness amongst those that are members of the party.
And Kathy, in addition to that, right, I would have liked Tito Mboweni to rest in eternal peace, to give a talk, right? Because we all know that, he's been quoted as cited, whatever, as incorruptible, right?
Okay.
So to me, it would mean that he was a man of high integrity and an ethicist or ethical leader. So he would have been well to give a talk on that topic.
Okay.
Kathy,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Let's leave it there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Speaking of the late Minister Tito Mboweni, this story has sort of been bubbling under the surface of what happened that led to the former President Thabo Mbeki not being on the list of speakers for his funeral, despite their request to do so. That's certainly something that we need to watch. The family, I see in one of the papers of the weekend, is now demanding an apology. And remember, that was a state funeral. Well, the briefing we've been waiting for has started in Kempton Park, and it's by the ministers in terms of the Nat Joint's response when it comes to food poisonings.
This team of 10 were given all the information, including the files of the deceased children, and more importantly, the post-mortem results. They used the World Health Organization's medical certification form recommended by the World Health Assembly to do the analysis. As you may remember, we had informed you that samples were taken during post-mortems and sent for toxicology analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to inform you of the findings of our toxicologist. The results show that the cause of death is unequivocally organophosphate. When we mentioned to you that we are chasing a chemical, we had actually at that time believed it's organophosphate. We're simply taking this from the symptoms. And so it so happened that we were actually right. Organophosphate is not one substance, but a group of substances which are usually used in agriculture or as pesticides. The organophosphate identified in this instance is called Terbufos, 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 Terbufos. All the 6 children died of Terbufos ingestion. In the past weeks, several chemicals were bandied around as possible causes of death. Some were even found in some retailers. In order to avoid confusion, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to mention each one of these chemicals and explain their significance. But before I do that, I need to explain that apart from organophosphate, another group of chemicals used as pesticides are called carbamates. There's a slight difference between carbamates and organophosphate. As I said, they are both used as pesticides. But one major difference is that organophosphate is much more lethal and can cause irreversible damage. Sometimes last week, there was a statement that indicated carbamates as the cause of death. This was from post-mortem observations, just observations. But toxicology has proven that the actual cause of death is organophosphate and not carbamate, as it might have been initially thought